The Spanish Tragedy. By Thomas Kyd. Scene, Spain, and Portugal. Acts Prims. Prologue. Enter the ghost of Andrea, and with him Renge. Ghost. When this eternal substance of my soul did Leoa imprisoned in my wanton flesh, eke in their function sorrowing others' need. I was a courtier in the Spanish court. My name was Don Andrea. My descent, though not ignoble, yet inferior far to gracious fortunes of my tender youth. For there, in prime and pride of all my years, by Dudius Sarus and Desorrowing Lo, in secret I posseused a worthy dame, which hight sweet Bel-Imperia by name. But in the harrowest of my summer Iois, death's winter nipped the blossoms of my bliss, forcing divorce betwixt my Lo and me. For in the late conflict with Portugal, my valor drew me into danger's mouth, till life to death made passage through my wounds. When I was slain, my soul descended straight to passe the flowing stream of Archaron. But churlish Sharon, only boatman there, said that, my rites of burial not performed, I might not sit amongst his passengers, ere soul had slept 3 nights in Thetis' lap, and slacked his smoking chariot in her floud. By Don Horatio, our knight marshal's son, my funerals and obsequies were done. Then was the Pharamon of hell content to passe me ouer to the slimy strand that leads to fell Oranus' ugly wows. There, pleasing Cerberus with honeyed speech, I passed the perils of the foremost porch, not far from hence, amidst 10,000 souls, sate Minos, Ecus, and Radamant, to whom no sooner gone I make approach, to crow a purport for my wandering ghost. But Minos in Grauen lows of Lottery drew forth the manner of my life and death. This night, quoth he, both lewd and died in Lo, and for his lo-tried fortune of the wars, and by wars fortune lost both Lo and life. Why then, said Ecus, convey him hence, to walk with lovers in our field of Lo, and the course of everlasting time, vendor green myrtle trees and cypress shades. No, no, said Radamant, it were not well with looing souls to place a marshalist. He died in war, and must to Martial fields, where wounded Hector lose in lasting pain, and Achilles' myrmidons do scour the plain. Then Minos, mildest censor of the 3, made this dus, to end the difference. Send him, quoth he, to our infernal king, to dome him as best seemes his majesty. To this effect my purport straight was drawn, in keeping on my way to Pluto's court. Through dreadful shades of ewer glooming night, I saw more sights than 1,000 tongues can tell, or pennes can write or mortal hearts can think. 3 ways there were, that on the right-hand side was ready wave to the foresaid fields, where lowers Leoa and blouty marshalists, but either sort contained within his bounds. The left-hand path, declining fearfully, was ready downfall to the deepest hell, where blouty furies shakes their whips of steel, and poor Ixion turns an endless wheel, where shewers are choked with melting gold, and wantons are embraced with ugly snakes, and murderers groan with noyer-killing wounds, and periered wights scalded in boiling lead, and all foule sins with torments o'erwhelmed. Twixt these 2 ways I trod the middle path, which brought me to the fair Elysian green, in midst whereof there stands a stately tor, the walls of brass, the gates of adamant. Here finding Pluto with his Proserpine, I shewed my purport, humbled on my knee, whereat fair Proserpine began to smile, and begged that onely she might to me doom. Pluto was pleased, and sealed it with a kiss. Forthwith, revenge, she rounded thee in th ear, and bade thee lead me through the gates of horn, where dreams ha passage in the silent night. No sooner had she spoke but we were here. I wot not how, in the twinkling of an eye. Revenge. Then know, Andrea, that thou ariud. Where thou shalt see the author of thy death. Don Balthazar, the Prince of Portugal. Deprived of life by Bel-Imperia. Here sit we down to see the mystery. And sorrow for chorus in this tragedy. Act I. Scene 1. The Spanish Court. Enter Spanish King, General, Castile, Hieronimo. King. Now say, Lord, General, how fares our camp? Gen. All wel, my sovereign liege, except some few. That are decreased by fortune of the war. King. But what portends thy cheerful countenance? And posting to our presence this in hast. Speak, man, hath fortune joined versus victory? Gen, victory, my liege, and that with little loss. King. Out Portugals will pay versus tribute then. Gen. Tribute, and wanted homage therewithal. King. Then blessed be Hohen, and guider of the Hohens. From whose fair influence such Iestis flows. Cast. O multum delect Deo, tibi militat ether. Edi coniurati curato poplite gentes. Secumment, recto soror est victoria juris. King. Thanks to my loving brother of Castile. But, General, unfold in brief discourse. Your for me of battle and your war's success. That, adding all the pleasure of thy news. Unto the height of former hapines. With deeper wage and gentile dignity. We may reward thy blissful chivalry. Gen. Where Spain and Portugal do iantly knit. Their frontiers, leaning on each other's bound. There met our armies in the proud array. Both furnished well, both full of hope and fear. Both menacing alike with daring shows. Both vaunting sundry colors of dus. Both cheerly sounding trumpets, drums and fifes. Both raising dreadful clamors to the ski. That Valleys, hills, and Riuers made rebound. And Hohen itself was fright with the sound. Our battles both were pitched in squadron for me. Each corner strongly fenced with wings of shot. But, ere we ironed and came to push of pike, I brought a squadron of our readiest shot. From out our rearward to begin the fight. They brought another wing to encounter versus. Meanwhile our ordnance plaid on either side. And Captain Strow to haw their valors tried. Don Pedro, their chief horseman's coronel, did with his cornet brawly make attempt to break our order of our battle rancas. But Don Rogero, worthy man of war, marched forth against him with our musketeers, and stopped the malice of his fell approach. While they maintain hot skirmish to and fro, both battalions Iowan and fall to handy blows. Their violent shot resembling ocean's rage. When, roaring loud and with a swelling tide, it beats upon the rampiers of huge rocks, and gapes to swallow neighbor-bounding lands. Now, while Bologna raggeth here and there, thick storms of bullets ran like winter's highly, and sheward launces dark the troubled air. PDPES and cuspide cuspis. Arma sunant armis vir pediturc viro. On Uri side drop captains to the ground. And soldiers, some ill-maimed, some slain outright. Here falls a body sundered from his head. Their legs and arms lie bleeding on the grass, mingled with weapons and emboweled steeds. That scattering o'er spread the purple plain. In all this turmoil, 3 long hovers and more. The victory to neither part inclined. Till Don Andrea with his brow lanciers in their main battle made so great a breach, that, half dismayed, the multitude returred. But Balthazar, the Portugalese young prince, brought rescue and encouraged them to stay. Here hence the fight was eagerly renewed. And in that conflict was Andrea slain. Brow man at arms, but weak to Balthazar. Yet, while the prince, insulting ouer him, breathed out proud vaunts, sounding to our reproach. Friendship and hearty valor ironed in one. Pricked forth Horatio, our knight marshal's son, to challenge forth that prince in single fight. Not long between these twain the fight entered. But straight the prince was beaten from his horse, and forced to yield him prisoner to his foe. When he was taken, all the rest fled, and our carbines pursued them to death. Till, Phoebus waning to the western deep, our trumpeters were charged to sound retreat. King. Thanks, good Lord General, for these good news. And, for some argument of more to come, take this and wear it for thy sovereign's sake. Jew him his shen. But tell me now, hast thou confirmed a peace? Gen. No peace, my liege, but peace conditional. That, if with homage tribute be well paid, the fury of your forces will be stayed. And to this peace their viceroy hath subscribed. Ju the K, ing, a paper. And made a solemn vow that during life, his tribute shall be truly paid to Spain. King. These words, these deeds become thy person wel. But now, knight marshal, frolic with thy king. For 'tis thy son that wins this battle's prize. Hiero. Long may he lioa to serve my sovereign liege. And soon decay unless he serve my liege. A trumpet, a fare off. King. Nor thou nor he shall die without reward. What means this warning of this trumpet sound? Gen. This telephones me that your grace is men of war, such as war's fortune hath resurrected from death, come marching on towards your royal seat, to show themselves before your majesty. For so gay I in charge at my depart, whereby by demonstration shall appear, that all, except 300 or few more, are safe returned and by their foes enricked. The army enters, Balthazar between Lorenzo and Horatio, capture. King. A gladsome sight. I long to see them here. They enter and pass by. Was that the warlike Prince of Portugal, that by our nephew was in triumph led? Gen. It was, my liege, the Prince of Portugal. King. But what was he that on the other side held him by arm as partner of the prize? Hiero. That was my son, my gracious sovereign, of whom though from his tender infancy my luing thoughts did noyer hope but well, he noyer pleased his father's eyes till now, nor filed my heart with workloying ioys. King. Go, let them march once more about these walls, that staying them we may confer and talka with our brow prisoner and his double guard. Exit a messenger. Hieronimo, it greatly pleaseth versus that in our victory thou ha a share, by virtue of thy worthy son's exploit. Enter again. Bring hither the young Prince of Portugal. The rest march on, but, ere they be dismissed, we will bestow on Uri soldier 2 ducats, and on Uri leader 10. That they may know our largesse welcomes them. Exeunt all, the army, but Bel-Thazar, Lorenzo, and Horatio. King. Welcome, Don Balthazar. Welcome nephew. And thou, Horatio, thou art welcome too. Young prince, although thy father's hard misdeeds, in keeping back the tribute that he owes, Deseru but you'll measure at our hands. Yet shalt thou know that Spain is honorable. Balt. The trespasse that my father made in peace is now controlled by fortune of the wars. And cards once dealt, it boodies not ask why so. His men are slain, a weakening to his realme. His colours seized, a blot into his name. His son distressed, a coursier to his heart. These punishments may clear his late offence. King. I, Balthazar, if he observe this truce. Our peace will grow the stronger for these wars. Meanwhile Leo thou, though not in liberty, yet free from bearing any servile yoke. For in our hearing thy deserts were great, and in our sight thyself art gracious. Balt. And I shall stood I to desire this grace. King. But tell me, for their holding makes me doubt. To which of these twain art thou prisoner? Lore. To me, my liege. Whore. To me, my suzerain. Lore. This hand first took his courser by the reins. Whore. But first my launce did put him from his horse. Lore. I seized the weapon and enioed it first. Whore. But first I forked him lay his weapons down. King. Let go his arm, upon my privilege. Let him go. Say, worthy prince, to whether didst thou yield? Balt. To him in courtesy, to this perforce. He spake me fair, this other gave me strokes. He promised life, this other threatened death. He won my love, this other conquered me. And, truth to say, I yield myself to both. Hiero. But that I know, your grace is highest and wise, and might see me party all in this difference. Enforked by nature and by law of arms. My tongue should plead for young Horatio's right. He hunted well that was a lion's death. Not he that in a garment wore his skin. So hares may pull dead lions by the beard. King. Content thee, marshal, thou shalt ha no wrong. And for thy sake thy son shall want to right. Will both abide the censure of my doom. Lore. I crown no better than your grace awards. Whore. Nor I, although I sit beside my right. King. Then by iagement thus your strife shall end. You both desru and both shall ho reward. Nephew, thou took'st his weapon, and his horse. His weapons and his horse are thy reward. Horatio, thou didst force him first to yield. His ransom therefore is thy valor's fee. Appoint the sum as you shall both agree. But, nephew, thou shalt ha the prince in guard. For thine estate best fitteth such a guest. Horatio's house were small for all his train. Yet, in regard they substance posseth his. And that highest guerdon may befall desert. To him we yield the armor of the prince. How likes Don Balthazar of this dus? Balt. Right well, my liege, if this proviso were. That Don Horatio beer versus company. Whom I admire and love for chivalry. King. Horatio, lo him not that lose thee so. Now let versus hence, to see our soldiers paid. And feast our prisoner as our friendly guest. Exeunt. Act I, Scene 2. Portugal, the Viceroy's Palace. Enter Viceroy, Alexandro, the Lupo. Vice. Is our ambassador dispatched for Spain? Alex. 2 days, my liege, are past since his depart. Vice. And tribute payment gone along with him? Alex. Ay, my good lord. Vice. Then rest we here a while in our rest. And feed our sorrows with inward sighs. For deepest cares break noyer into tears. But wherefore sit I in a regal throne? This better fits a wretch's endless moan. Yet this is higher than my fortune's reach. And therefore better than my state desirous. Phallus to the ground. I, this earth, image of melancholy. Seeks him whom fates, adage, to misery. Here let me lie. Now am I at the lowest. Ca iacet in terra non habet vend cadat. In me concumpsit vires fortuna nocendo. Nil superest viti iam posset obes magus. Yes, fortune may borrow me of my crown. Here, take it now. Let fortune do her worst. She shall now rob me of this sable weed. Oh, no, she envies none but pleasant things. Such is the folly of despiteful chance. Fortune is blind and sees not my deserts. So is she deaf and hears not my laments. And, could she hear, yet is she wilful mad. And therefore will not pity my distress. Suppose that she could pity me, what then? What help can be expected at her hands? Whose foot is standing on a rolling stone? And mind more mutable than fickle winds? Why wail I, then, where's hope of no redress? Oh, yes, complaining makes my grief see me less. My late ambition hath disdained my faith. My breach of faith occasioned bloody wars. Those bloody wars ha spent my treasure and with my treasure my people's blood. And with the blood my Ioe and best Belud. My best Belud. My sweet and only son. Oh, wherefore went I not to war myself? The cause was mine, I might ha died for both. My years were mellow, but his young and green. My death were natural, but his was forced. Alex. No doubt, my liege, but still the Prince Suruyos. Vice. Suruyos. I, where? Alex. In Spain, a prisoner by mychants of war. Vice. Then they ha slain him for his father's fault. Alex. That were a breach to common law of arms. Vice. They reck no laws that meditate revenge. Alex. His ransom's worth will stay from foule revenge. Vice. No, if he lewd, the news would soon be here. Villap. My Surain, pardon the author of ill news. And I'll bewray the fortune of thy son. Vice. Speak on. I'll guerdon thee, whate'er it be. Mine ear is ready to receive you ill news. My heart grown hard gainst mischief's battery. Stand VP, I say, and tell thy tale at large. Villap. Then hear that truth which these mine eyes have seen. When both the armies were in battle and Don Balthazar amidst the thickest troops. To win renown, did wondrous feats of arms. Amongst the rest I saw him hand to hand. In single fight with their Lord General. Till Alexandro, that here counterfeits. Vendor the colour of a duteous friend. Discharged a pistol at the prince's back. As though he would ha slain their general. But therewithal Don Balthazar fell down. And when he fell, then we began to fly. But, had he lewd, the day had sure been ours. Alex. O witched forgery! O traitorous miscreant! Vice. Hold thou thy peace. But now, Villapo, say. Where then became the carcass of my son? Villap. I saw them drag it to the Spanish tents. Vice. I, my nightly dreams ha told me this. Thou false, venkind, unthankful, traitorous beast. Wherein had Balthazar offended thee? That thou should betray him to our foes? Wast Spanish gold that bleared so thine eyes? That thou couldst see no part of our deserts? Perchance, because thou art Tertiary's lord. Thou hadst some hope to wear this diadem. If first my son and then myself were slain. But thy ambitious thought shall break thy neck. Aye, this was it that made thee spill his blood. Take the crown and put it on again. But I'll now wear it till they blood be spilt. Alex. Vouchsafe, dread Surain, to hear me speak. Vice. Away with him. His sight is second hell. Keep him till we determine his death. If Balthazar be dead, he shall not Leoa. They take him out. Villapo, follow verses for thy reward. Exit Vice, Roy. Villap. Thus ha I with an Enuius forged tale. Deceived the king, betrayed mine enemy. And hope for guerdon of my villainy. Act I, Scene 3. Spain, the palace. Enter Horatio and Bel-Imperia. Bel. Signor Horatio, this is the place and hour wherein I must entreat thee to relate the circumstance of Don Andrea's death, who luing was my garland's sweetest flower, and in his death hath buried my delights. Whore. For lieu of him and Sarus to yourself, I'll not refuse this hoy doleful charge. Yet tears and sighs, I fear, will hinder me. When both our armies were enioined in fight, your worthy chevalier amidst the thickest, for glorious cause still aiming at the fairest, was at the last by young Don Balthazar encountered hand to hand. Their fight was long. Their hearts were great, their clamours menacing. Their strength alike, their strokes both dangerous. But wrathful Nemesis, that wicked power, envying at Andrea's praise and worth, cut short his life to end his praise and worth. She herself, disguised in armour's mask, as Pallas was before proud Pergamus, brought in a fresh supply of halberdiers, which paunched his horse and dinged him to the ground. Then young Don Balthazar, with ruthless rage, taking advantage of his foe's distress, did finish what his halberdiers begun, and left not till Andrea's life was done. Then, though too late, incensed with highest remorse, I with my band set forth against the prince, and brought him prisoner from his halba, our dears. Bel. Would thou hadst slain him that so slew my lou. But then was Don Andrea's carcass lost. Whore. No, that was it for which I chiefly strow. Nor stepped I back till I recoured him. I took him VP, and wound him in mine arms. And, welding him to my private tent, there laid him down and did him with my tears. And sighed and sorrowed as became a friend. But neither friendly sorrow, sighs and tears could win pale death from his usurped right. Yet this I did, unless I could not do. I saw him honoured with due funeral. This scarf I plucked from off his loyal's arm, and wear it in remembrance of my friend. Bel. I know the scarf, would he had kept it still. For, had he lewd, he would ha kept it still, and worn it for his Bel-Imperia's sake. For 'twas my foe at his last depart. But now wear thou it both for him and me. For, after him, thou hast deserted it best. But, for thy kindness in his life and death, be sure, while Bel-Imperia's life endures, she will be Don Horatio's thankful friend. Whore. And, madam, Don Horatio will not slack humbly to serve fair Bel-Imperia. But now, if your good liking stand there too, I'll crow your pardon to go seek the prince. For so the duke, your father, gave me charge. Exit. Bel. I, go, Horatio, lo me here alone. For solitude best fits my cheerl's mood. Yet what avails to wail Andrea's death? From whence Horatio prose my second low. Had he not lewd Andrea as he did, he could not sit in Bel-Imperia's thoughts. But how can lo find harbour in my breast, till I revenge the death of my Belud? Yes, second lo shall further my revenge. I'll lo Horatio, my Andrea's friend, the more to spite the prince that wrought his end. And, where Don Balthazar, that slew my lou, he shall, in rigour of my highest disdain, reap long repentance for his murderous deed. For what wast else but murderous cowardice? So many to oppress one valiant knight, without respect of honour in the fight. And here he comes that murdered my delight. Enter Lorenzo and Balthazar. Lore. Sister, what means this melancholy walk? Bel. That for a while I wish no company. Lore. But here the prince is come to visit you. Bel. That argues that he lose in liberty. Ball. No madam, but in pleasing certitude. Bel. Your prison then, belike, is your conceit? Ball. I, by conceit my freedom is enthralled. Bell. Then with conceit enlarge yourself again. Ball. What if conceit ha laid my heart to gauge? Bell. Pay that you borrowed, and recur it. Ball. I die if it return from whence it lies. Bell. A Hartle's man, and Leoa. A miracle. Ball. I, lady, look can work such miracles. Lore. Tush, tush, my lord. Let go these ambages. And in plain terms acquaint her with your law. Bell. What Boadi's complaint, when there's no remedy? Ball. Yes, to your Grathio's self must I complain. In whose fair answer lies my remedy. On whose perfection all my thoughts attend. On whose aspect mine eyes find beauty's bower. In whose translucent breast my heart is lodged. Bell. Alas, my lord. They're but words of course. And but does to dry you me from this place. She, going in, lets fall her glue, which Horatio, coming out, takes VP. Hr, madam, your glue. Bell. Thanks, good Horatio, take it for thy pains. Bel-Imperia exits. Bl, Senior Horatio stooped in hap pie time. Hor. I reapt more grace that I deserud or hopped. Lore. My lord, be not dismayed for what is past. You know that women oft are humorous. These clouds will hour blow with little wind. Let me alone, I'll scatter them myself. Meanwhile let verses does to spend the time. In some delightful sports and ruelling. Hor. The king, my lords, is coming hither straight. To feast the Portugal ambassador. Things were in readiness before I came. Ball. Then here it fits verses to attend the king. To welcome hither our ambassador. And learn my father and my country's health. Enter the banquet, trumpets, the king. And ambassador. King. See, Lord Ambassador, how Spain entreats. Their prisoner Balthazar, thy viceroy's son. We pleasure more in kindines than in wars. Embas. Sad is our king, and Portugal laments. Supposing that Don Balthazar is slain. Ball. Aside, so am I, slain by beauty's tyranny. You see, my lord, how Balthazar is slain. I frolic with the Duke of Castille's son. Wrapped every hour in pleasures of the court. And grassed with fours of his majesty. King. Put off your greetings till our feast be done. Now come and sit with verses, and taste our cheer. Sit to the banquet. Sit down, young prince, you are our second guest. Brother, sit down. And nephew, take your placel. Senior Horatio, wait thou upon our cup. For well thou hast deserved to be honored. Now, lordings, fall to, Spain is Portugal. And Portugal is Spain, we both are friends. Tribute is paid, and we enjoy our right. But where is old Hieronimo, our marshal? He promised verses, in honor of our guest. To grace our banquet with some pompous highest. Enter Hieronimo with a drum, 3 knights. Each with scutcheon. Then he fetches his 3 kings, they take their crowns and them. Capture. Hieronimo, this makes contents mine eie. Although I sound well not the mystery. Hiero. The first armed knight that hung his scutcheon VP. He takes the scutcheon ahd gives it to. The king. Was English Robert, Earl of Gloucester. Who, when King Stephen bore sway in Albion. Arrayed with few and 20,000 men. In Portugal, and, by success of war. Enforced the king, then but a Saracen. To bear the yoke of the English monarchy. King. My lord of Portugal, by this you see. That which may comfort both your king and you. And make your late discomfort see me the less. But say, Hieronimo, what was the next? Hiero. The second knight that hung his scutcheon VP. He doth as he did before. Was Edmund, Earl of Kent in Albion. When English Richard wore the diadem. He came likewise and raised Lisbon walls. And took the king of Portugal in fight. For which, and other such service done. He after was created Duke of York. King. This is another special argument. That Portugal may deign to bear our yoke. When it by little England hath been yoked. But now, Hieronimo, what were the last? Hiero. The third and last, not least in our account. Doing as before. Was, as the rest, a valiant Englishman. Brow Ian of Gaunt, the Duke of Lancaster. As by his scutcheon plainly may appear. He with a puissant army came to Spain. And took our King of Castile prisoner. Embus. This is an argument for our viceroy. That Spain may not insult for her success. Since English warriors likewise conquered Spain. And made them bow their knees to Albion. King. Hieronimo, I drink to thee for this dus. Which hath pleased both the ambassador and me. Pledge me, Hieronimo, if thou lo the king. Takes the cup of Horatio. My lord, I fear we sit but owe you ere long. Unless our dainties were more delicate. But welcome are to you the best we haul. Now let verses in, that you may be dispatched. I think our counsel is already set. Exeunt omnes. Chorus. Andrea. Come we for this from depth of vendor ground. To see him feast that gave me my death's wound. These pleasant sights are sorrow to my soul. Nothing but league and loot and banqueting. Revenge. Be still, Andrea. Ere we go from hence. I'll turn their friendship into fell despite. Their loot to mortal hate, their day to night. Their hope into despair, their peace in war. Their joys to pain, their bliss to misery. Actus Secundus. Act 2. Scene 1. The Duke's Castle. Enter Lorenzo and Balthazar. Lorenzo. My lord, though Bel-Imperia see me thus coy. Let reason hold you in your wonted ioe. In time the sowed bull sustains the yoke. In time all haggard hawks will stoop to lure. In time small wedges clow the hardest oak. In time the hardest flint is pursed with softest shower. And she in time will fall from her disdain. And rue the sufferance of your friendly pain. Ball. No, she is wilder, and more hard withal. Than beast or bird, or tree or stony wall. But wherefore blot I Bel-Imperia's name? It is my fault, not she that merits blame. My feature is not to content her sight. My words are rude and work her no delight. The lines I send her are but harsh and ill. Such as doe drop from Pan and Marja's quill. My presents are not of sufficient cost. And, being worthless, all my labours lost. Yet might she lure me for my valiancy. Ay, but that slandered by captivity. Yet might she lure me to content her sire. Ay, but her reason masters, her desire. Yet might she lure me as her brother's friend. Ay, but her hopes aim at some other end. Yet might she lure me to freer her state. Ay, but perhaps she lose some nobler mate. Yet might she lure me as her beauty's thrall. Ay, but I fear she cannot lure at all. Lore. My lord, for my sake lo these ecstasies. And doubt not but we'll find some remedy. Some cause there is that lets you not be lewd. First that must needs be known, and then remowed. What if my sister lo some other night? Ball. My summer's day will turn to winter's night. Lore. I ha already found a stratageme. To sound the bottom of this doubtful aim. My lord, for once you shall be rotha by me. Hinder me not whate'er you hear or see. By force or fair means will I cast about, to find the truth of all this question out. Ho, Pedringano. Ped. Signor. Lor. Veen capresto. Enter Pedringano. Ped. Hath your lordship any sorrows to command me? Lor. I, Pedringano, sorrows of import. And, not to spend the time in trifling words. Thus stands the case, it is not long, thou know'st, since I did shield thee from my father's wrath, for thy connuenience in Andreas' love, for which thou wert adjudged to punishment. I stood betwixt thee and thy punishment. And since thou knowest how I ha favoured thee, now to these fours will I add a reward. Not with fair words, but store of golden coin, and lands and louing ironed with dignities. If thou but satisfy my highest demand, tell truth and ha me for thy lasting friend. Ped. Whate'er it be your lordship shall demand, my bounden duety bids me tell the truth, if case it lie in me to tell the truth. Lor. Then, Pedringano, this is my demand. Whom lose my sister Bel-Imperia? For she reposeth all her trust in thee. Speak, man, and gain both friendship and reward. I mean, whom lose she in Andreas' place? Ped. Alas, my lord, since Don Andreas' death, I ha no credit with her as before, and therefore know not if she lue or no. Lor. Nay, if thou dally, then I am thy foe, and fear shall force what friendship cannot win. Thy death shall bury what thy life conceals. Thou diest for more esteeming her than me. Draws his sword. Ped. Oh stay, my lord. Lor. Yet speak the truth, and I will guerdon thee, and shield thee from what ewer can ensue, and will conceal what ewer proceeds from thee. But, if thou dally once again, thou deest. Ped. If Madame Bel-Imperia be in lo. Lor. What, villain? Ifs and ands. Ped. Oh stay, my lord. She lose Horatio. Balthazar starts back. Lor. What? Don Horatio, our knight marshal's son. Ped. You and him, my lord. Lor. Now say but how knowest thou he is her lo? And thou shalt find me kind and liberal. Stand VP, I say, and Firels tell the truth. Ped. She sent him letters, which myself perused, full fraught with lines and arguments of lo, preferring him before Prince Balthazar. Lor. Swear on this cross that what thou sighest is true, and that thou wilt conceal what thou hast tolda. Ped. I swear to both, by him that made verses all. Lor. In hope thine oath is true, here's thy reward. But, if I pro thee periard and nighest, this very sword whereon thou took'st thine oath, shall be the worker of thy tragedy. Ped. What I ha said is true, and shall, for me, be still concealed from Bel-Imperia. Besides, your honour's liberality desires my duteous sorrows you until death. Lor. Let this be all that thou shalt do for me. Be watchful when and where these lowers meet, and do me notice in some secret sort. Ped. I will, my lord. Lor. Then thou shalt find that I am liberal. Thou knowest that I can more adjuvance thy state. Then she, be therefore wise and fail me not. Go and attend her as thy custom is. Least absence make her think thou dost amiss. Exit Pedringano. Why, so, tam armis quam ingenio. Where wards prule not, violence prules. But gold doth more than either of them both. How likes Prince Balthazar this stratagem? Ball. Both well and ill. It makes me glad and sad. Glad, that I know the hinderer of my lo. Sad, that I fear she hates me whom I lo. Glad, that I know on whom to be rewinged. Sad, that she'll fly me if I take revenge. Yet must I take revenge or die myself. For lo resisted grows impatient. I think Horatio be my destined plague. First, in his hand he brandished a sword. And with that sword he fiercely waged war. And in that war he gave me dangerous wounds. And by those wounds he forced me to yield. And by my yielding I became his slaw. Now, in his mouth he carries pleasing words. Which pleasing words do harbor sweet conceits. Which sweet conceits are limned with sly deceits. Which sly deceits smooth Bel-Imperia's ears. And through her ears die you down into her heart. And in her heart set him, where I should stand. Thus hath he ta'en my body by force. And now by sleight would captivate my soul. But in his fall I'll tempt the destinies. And either loose my life or win my lo. Lore. Let's go, my lord, our staying stays revenge. Do but follow me, and gain your lo. Her fall must be won by his remo. Exeunt. Act 2. Scene 2. The Duke's Castle. Enter Horatio and Bel-Imperia. Hor. Now, madam, since by favour of your love, our hidden smoke is turned to open flame. And that with looks and words we feed our thought. Two chief contents where more cannot be had. Thus in the midst of Lou's fair blandishments. Why shew you signa of inward languishments? Pedringano sheweth all to the prince and Lorenzo, placing them in secret. Bell. My heart, sweet friend, is like a ship at sea. She wisheth port, where, riding all at ease, she may repair what stormy times ha worn. And, leaning on the shore, may sing with Ioe. That pleasure follows pain, and bliss annoy. Possession of thy lo is only port. Wherein my heart, with fears and hopes long tossed, each heart doth wish and long to make resort. There to repair the Ioes that it hath lost. And, sitting safe, to sing in Cupid's choir. That sweetest bliss is crown of Lou's desire. Balthazar, abo. Bal, O sleep, mine eyes, see not my lo profaned. Be deaf, my ears, hear not my discontent. Die, heart, another Ioes what thou desiruest. Lore. Watch still, mine eyes, to see this lo disjoined. Hear still, mine ears, to hear them both lament. Leoa, heart, to Ioe at fond Horatio's fall. Bell. Why stands Horatio speechless all this while? Hor. The less I speak, the more I meditate. Bell. But whereon dost thou chiefly meditate? Hor. On dangers past and pleasures to ensue. Ball. On pleasures past and dangers to ensue. Bell. What dangers and what pleasures dost thou mean? Dangers of war and pleasures of our lo. Lore. Dangers of death, but pleasures none at all. Bell. Let dangers go, thy war shall be with me. But such a war as breaks no bond of peace. Speak thou fair words, I'll cross them with fair words. Send thou sweet looks, I'll meet them with sweet looks. Write luing lines, I'll answer a luing lines. Give me a kiss, I'll countercheck thy kiss. Be this our warring peace, or peaceful war. Hor. But, gracious madam, then appoint the field. Where trial of this war shall first be made. Bal, ambitious villain, how his boldness grows. Bell. Then be thy father's pleasant bower in the field. Where first we vowed a mutual amity. The court were dangerous, that place is safe. Our hour shall be when vesper gins to rise. That summons home distressful travellers. There none shall hear verses but the harmless birds. Happily the gentle nightingale. Shall carol verses asleep ere we beware. And, singing with the prickle at her breast, tell our delight and mirthful dalliance. Till then, each hour will see me a year and more. Whore. But, honey sweet and honorable Lo, return we now into your father's sight. Dangerous suspicion waits on our delight. Lore. I, danger mixed with Aeolus despite, shall send thy soul into eternal night. Exeunt. Act 2. Scene 3. The Spanish Court. Enter the King of Spain, Portugal. Ambassador, Don Cyprian, and King. Brother of Castile, to the Princes Lo. What says your daughter Bel-Imperia? CIP. Although she coy it, as becomes her kind, and yet dissemble that she lose the prince. I doubt not, but she will stoop in time. And, were she froward, which she will not be, yet herein shall she follow my advice, which is to lure him or forego my lo. King. Then, Lord Ambassador of Portugal, adduce thy king to make this marriage VP. For strengthening of our late confirmed league. I know no better means to make verses friends. Her dowry shall be large and liberal. Besides that she is daughter and half heir to our brother here, Don Cyprian, and shall enjoy the moitié of his land. I'll grace her marriage with an venkel's gift. And this is it, in case the match go forward. The tribute which you pay shall be released. And, if by Balthazar she ha a son, he shall enjoy the kingdom after versus. Embas. I'll make the motion to my sovereign liege, and work it if my counsel may prule. King. Do so, my lord. And, if he do consent, I hope his presence here will honor versus, in celebration of the nuptial day. And let himself determine of the time. M. Wilt please your grace command me aught beside? King. Commend me to the king, and so, farewell. But where's Prince Balthazar, to take his lo? M. That is performed already, my good lord. King. Amongst the rest of what you ha in charge, the prince's ransom must not be forgot. That's none of mine, but his that took him prisoner. And well his forwardens deserves reward. It was Horatio, our knight marshal's son. M. Between verses there's a price already pitched, and shall be sent with all convenient speed. King. Then once again farewell, my lord. M. Farewell, my lord of Castile, and the rest. Exit. King. Now, brother, you must make some little pains to win fair Bel-Imperia from her will. Young virgins must be ruled by their friends. The prince is amiable, and lose her well. If she neglect him and forego his lo, she both will wrong her own estate and ours. Therefore, whiles I do entertain the prince with greatest pleasure that our court affords, endower you to win your daughter's thought. If she do back, all this will come to naught. Exeunt. Act 2. Scene 4. Horatio's garden. Enter Horatio, Bel-Imperia, and Pedringano. Whore. Now that the night begins with sable wings, to ear cloud the brightens of the sun, and that in darkens pleasures may be done. Come, Bel-Imperia, let verses to the bower, and there is safe tie passe a pleasant hour. Bell. I follow thee, my lo, and will not back, although my fainting heart controls my soul. Whore. Why, make you doubt of Pedringano's faith? Bell. No, he is as trusty as my second self. Go, Pedringano, watch without the gate, and let verses known if any make approach. Ped. Aside, instead of watching, I'll desire more gold by fetching Don Lorenzo to this match. Exit Ped Ringano. Whore. What means my lo? Bel. I know not what, myself. And yet my heart foretells me some mischance. Hr, sweet, say not so, fair fortune is our friend. And Hoans ha shut vp day to pleasure versus. The stars, thou sayest, hold back their twinkling shine. And Luna hides herself to pleasure versus. Bel. Thou hast pruled. I'll conquer my misdoubt. And in thy lu and counsel drown my fear. I fear no more, lu now is all my thoughts. Why sit we not? For pleasure asketh ease. Whore. The more thou sit'st within these lowy bowers, the more will Flora deck it with her flowers. Bel. Ay, but, if Flora spy Horatio here, her Aeolus I will think I sit too near. Whore. Hark, madam, how the birds record by night. For Ioe that Bel-Imperia sits in sight. Bel. No, Cupid counterfeits the nightingale, to frame sweet music to Horatio's tale. Whore. If Cupid sing, then Venus is not far. Ay, thou art Venus, or some fairer star. Bel. If I be Venus, thou must needs be Mars. And where Mars reigneth, there must needs be wars. Whore. Then thus begin our wars, put forth thy hand, that it may combat with my ruder hand. Bel. Set forth thy foot to try the push of mine. Whore. But, first, my looks shall combat against thee. Bel. Then ward thyself. I dart this kiss as thee. Whore. Thus I return, the dart thou threwest at me. Bel. Nay then, to gain the glory of the field, my twining arms shall yoke and make thee yield. Whore. Nay then, my arms are large and strong withal. Thus elms by vines are compassed till they fall. Bel. Oh, let me go, for in my troubled eyes now mayst thou read that life in passion dies. Oh, stay a while, and I will die with thee. So shalt thou yield, and yet ha conquered me. Bel. Who's there? Pedringano. We are betrayed. Enter Lorenzo, Balthazar, Cerberin. Pedringano, disguised. Lore. My lord, away with her. Take her aside. O sir, forbear, your valor is already tried. Quickly dispatch, my maesters. Why hang him in the arbor? Whore. What, will you murder me? Lore. Ay, thus. And thus. These are the fruits of lo. They stab him. Bel. Oh, saw his life, and let me die for him. Oh, saw him, brother. Saw him, Balthazar. I lewd Horatio, but he lewd not me. Ball. But Balthazar lose Bel-Imperia. Lore. Although his life were still ambitious, proud, yet is he at the highest now he is dead. Bel. Murder. Murder. Help. Hieronimo, help. Lore. Come, stop her mouth. Away with her. Exeunt. Enter Hieronimo in his shirt, and Hiero. What outcried pluck me from my naked bed, and chill my throbbing heart with trembling fear? Which noyer danger yet could daunt before? Who calories Hieronimo? Speak, here I am. I did not slumber, therefore 'twas no dream. No, no. It was some woman cried for help. And here within this garden did she cry. And in this garden must I rescue her. But stay. What murderous spectacle is this? A man hanged VP, and all the murderers gone. And in the bower, to lay the guilt on me. This place was made for pleasure not for death. He cuts him down. Those garments that he wears I oft ha seen. Alas! It is Horatio, my sweet son. Oh, no, but he that whilome was my son. Oh, was it thou that call'dest me from my bed? Oh, speak, if any spark of life remain. I am thy father. Who hath slain my son? What savage monster, not of humane kind, hath here been glutted with thy harmel's blood, and left thy bloody corpse dishonored here? For me amidst these dark and dreadful shades, to drown thee with an ocean of my tears. O Hoans, why made you night, to cure sin? By day this deed of darkness had not been. O earth, why didst thou not in time dore the vile profaner of this sacred bower? O poor Horatio, what hadst thou misdone, to lease thy life ere life was new begun? O wicked butcher, whatsoe'er thou wert, how could thou strangle virtue and desert? I me, most wretched, that ha lost my Ioe, in leasing my Horatio, my sweet boy. Enter Isabel. Isa. My husband's absence makes my heart to throb. Hieronimo. Hiero. Here, Isabella. Help me to lament. For sighs are stopped, and all my tears are spent. Isa. What world of grief, my son Horatio? Oh, where's the author of this endless woe? Hiero. To know the author were some ease of grief, for in revenge my heart would find relief. Isa. Then is he gone? And is my son gone too? Oh, gush out, tears. Fountains and floods of tears. Blow, sighs, and raise an everlasting storm. For outrage fits our cursed wretchedness. Hiero. Sweet Louis rose, ill-plucked before thy time. Fair, worthy son, not conquered, but betrayed. I'll kiss thee now, for words with tears are stained. Isa. And I'll close VP the glasses of his sight. For once these eyes were only my delight. Hiero. Sayest thou this handkerchief besmirred with blood? It shall not from me till I take revenge. Sayest thou those wounds that yet are bleeding fresh? I'll not entomb them till I ho reewinged. Then will I Ioe amidst my discontent. Till then, my sorrow noyer shall be spent. Isa. The Hoans are iest, murder cannot be hid. Time is the author of both truth and right. And time will bring this treachery to light. Hiero. Meanwhile, good Isabella, cease thy plaints. Or, at the least, dissemble them awhile. So shall we sooner find the practice out, and learn by whom all this was brought about. Come, Isabel, now let verses take him VP. They take him VP. And bear him in from out this cursed place. I'll say his dirge, singing fits not this case. O aliquis mihi quas pulchrum ver egisset herbas. Hiero, Nimo, sets his breast into his sword. Misit, e nostro deter medicina dolori. Aut sici facient honorum obliuis succos. Prebit. Ipsi meta magnum quicunc per orbum. Gramina sol pulchris iasit lucis in oras. Ipsi bibum quicquid meditator saga venini. Quicquid et irarum ui cica nini annectit. Omnia perpetur, let hum quoque, dum semo omnis. Nost in extincto moriator pector sensus. Ergo tua perpetuus spiliut limunia somnis. Immorior tecum, sic ut ire sub vmbras. Atamen absistem properato cedera letho. Namortem vindicta tuum tum nulla sequator. Here he throws it from him and bears the body away. Chorus. Andrea. Brought'st thou me hither to increase my pain? I looked that Balthazar should ha' been slain. But 'tis my friend Horatio that is slain. And they abuse fair Bel-Imperia, on whom I doted more than all the world. Because she lewd me more than all the world. Revenge. Thou talkest of harvest, when the corn is green. The end is, grown, of ewery work well done. The sickle comes not till the corn be ripe. Be still, and, ere I lead thee from this place, I'll shew thee Balthazar in hoy case. Actus Tertius. Act 3. Scene 1. The Portuguese court. Enter Viceroy of Portugal, nobles, Alexandro. Viluppo. Viceroy. In fortunate condition of kings. Seated amidst so many helpless doubts. First, we are placed upon extremest height. And oft supplanted with exceeding hate. But you are subject to the wheel of chance. And at our highest noyer ioe we sow. As we doubt and dread our overthrow. So striueth not the vows with sundry winds. As fortune toileth in the affairs of kings. That would be feared, yet fear to be bellowed. Sith fear and low to kings is flattery. For instance, lordings, look upon your king. By hate deprived of his dearest son. The only hope of our successio line. Nob. I had not thought that Alexandro's heart had been envenomed with such extreme hate. But now I see that words hausur all works. And there's no credit in the countenance. Vil. No, for, my lord, had you behold the train. That feigned low had coloured in his looks. When he in camp consorted Balthazar. For a more inconstant had you thought the sun. That hourly coasts the centre of the earth. Then Alexandros purpose to the prince. Vice. No more, Viluppo. Thou hast said enough. And with thy words thou sighest our wounded thoughts. Nor shall I longer dally with the world. Procrastinating Alexandros' death. Go, some of you, and fetch the traitor forth. That, as he is condemned, he may die. Enter Alexandro, with a nobleman and halberts. Nob. In such extremes will not but patience sorrow. Alex. But in extremes what patience shall I vse? Nor discontents it me to loathe the world. With whom there nothing can prule but wrong. Nob. Yet hope the best. Alex. 'Tis ho in my hope. As for the earth, it is too much infect. To yield me hope of any of her mould. Vice. Why linger ye? Bring froth that daring fiend. And let him die for his accursed deed. Alex. Not that I fear the extremity of death. For nobles cannot stoop to sorrowful fear. Do I, O king, thus discontentedly owe? But this, oh this, torments my labouring soul. That thus I die suspected of a sin. Whereof, as Hoans ha unknown my secret thoughts. So am I free from this suggestion. Vice. No more, I say, to the tortures. When? Bind him, and burn his body in those flames. They bind him to the stake. That shall prefigure those unquenched fears. A phlegethon prepared for his soul. Alex. My guiltless death will be almed on thee. On thee, Viluppo, that hath maliced thus. Or for thy meat hast falsely me accussed. Vil. Nay, Alexandro, if thou menace me, I'll lend a hand to send thee to the lake. Where those thy words shall perish with thy works. Injurious traitor, monstrous homicide. Enter ambassador. M. Stay. Hold a while. And here, with pardon of His Majesty, lay hands upon Viluppo. Vice. Ambassador, what news nath vrg this sodine? Entrance. M. No, Surain L. Ord, that Balthazar doth leoa. Vice. What sighest thou? Lueth Balthazar, our son. M. Your hind son, L. Ord, Balthazar doth leoa. And, well entreated in the court of Spain. Humbly commends him to your majesty. These eyes beheld. And these my followers. With these, the letters of the kings commend. Jus him letters. Are happy witnesses of his hind's health. The king looks on the letters, and proceeds. Vice. Reads, Thy son doth Leoa, your tribute is received. Thy peace is made, and we are satisfied. The rest resolve upon as things proposed. For both are honours and they benefit. M. These are his hind's farther articles. He jures him more letters. Vice. Accursed wretch to intimate these ills. Against the life and reputation of noble Alexandro. Come, my lord, then bind him. To Alexandro, let him then bind thee that is bound to death. To make a quit all for thy discontent. They then bind him. Alex. Dread lord, in kindness you could do no less. Upon report of such a damned fact. But thus we see our innocence hath sowed. The hopeless like which thou, the Lupo, sought. By thy suggestions to ha massacred. Vice. Say, false Viluppo, wherefore didst thou thus falsely betray Lord Alexandro's life? Him whom thou knowest that no Kindine's els. But you in the slaughter of our dearest son. Could once ha mood verses to ha misconsoled. Alex. Say, treacherous Viluppo, tell the king. Or wherein hath Alexandro vist the ill? Vil. Rent with remembrance of so foul a deed. My guilty soul submits me to thy doom. For, not for Alexandros injuries. But for reward and hope to be preferred. Thus ha I shamelessly hazarded his life. Vice. Which, villain, shall be ransomed with thy death. And not so mean a torment as we hear. Doest for him who thou saidst slew our son. But with the bitterest torments and extremes. That may be yet innuented for thine end. Alex, Ander, see me's to entreat. Entreat me not. Go, take the traitor hence. Exit Viluppo. And, Alexandro, let versus honor thee. With public notice of thy loyalty. To end those things articulated here. By our great Lord, the mighty King of Spain. We with our counsel will deliberate. Come, Alexandro, keep versus company. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 2. Spain, near the Duke's castle. Enter Hieronimo. Hiero. O ye eyes. No ye eyes but fountains fraught with tears. O life. No life, but loyally form of death. O world. No world, but mass of public wrongs. Confessed and filled with murder and misdeeds. O sacred Hoans, if this unhallowed deed. If this inhumane and barbarous attempt. If this incomparable murder thus. Of mine, but now no more my son. Shall pass vnruled and vnruinged passe. How should we term your dealings to be highest? If you nighestly deal with those that in your highest distrust. The night, sad secretary to my moans. With direful visions wake my vexed soul. And with the wounds of my distressful son. Solicite me for notice of his death. The ugly fiends do sally forth of hell. And frame my heart with fierce inflamed thoughts. The cloudy day my discontents records. Early begins to register my dreams. And dry ye me forth to seek the murderer. Ye eyes, life, world, Hoans, hell, night and day. See, search, show, send, some man, some mean, that may. A letter falleth. What's here? A letter? Tush, it is not so. A letter for Hieronimo. Reads, for want of ink receive this blowdy writ. Me hath my hapless brother hid from thee. Revenge thyself on Balthazar and him. For these were they that murdered thy son. Hieronimo, revenge Horatio's death. And better fare than Bel-Imperia doth. What means this unexpected miracle? My son slain by Lorenzo and the prince? What cause had they Horatio to maligny? Or what might mo thee, Bel-Imperia? To accuse they brother, had he been the mean? Hieronimo, beware. thou art betrayed. And to entrap thy life this train is laid. Aduse thee therefore, be not credulous. This is does to endanger thee. That thou, by this, Lorenzo shouldst accuse. And he, for thy dishonour done, show draw thy life in question and thy name in hate. Dear was the life of my beloved son. And of his death behows me to be onged. Then hazard not thine own, Hieronimo. But Leo T effect thy resolution. I therefore will by circumstances tree what I can gather to confirm this writ. And, hearken, near the Duke of Castile's house. Close if I can with Bel-Imperia. To listen more, but nothing to bewray. Enter Pedringano. Now, Pedringano. Ped. Now, Hieronimo. Hiero. Where's thy lady? Ped. I know not, here's my lord. Enter Lorenzo. Lore. How now, who's this? Hieronimo. Hiero. My lord. Ped. He asketh me for my lady Bel-Imperia. Lore. What to do, Hieronimo? VSE me. Dialogue from the undated and the manuscript. Hiero. Oh, no, my lord, I dare not, it must not be. I humbly thank your lordship. End of insertion. Dialogue from the 1618, 1623, and 1633 editions. Hiero. Who? You, my lord. I reserve your favor for a greater honor. This is a very toy, my lord, a toy. Lore. All's one, Hieronimo, acquaint me with it. Hiero. Why faith, my lord, 'tis an idle thing. I must confess I have been too slack, too tardy. To remiss to your honor. Lore. How now, Hieronimo? Hiero. In troth, my lord, it is a thing of nothing. The murder of a son or so, my lord. A thing of nothing. End of insertion. Lore. Why then, farewell. Hiero. My grief in heart, my thoughts no tongue can tell. Exit. Lore. Come hither, Pedringano, sayest thou this? Ped. My lord, I see it, and suspect it too. Lore. This is that damned villain Cerberine. That hath, I fear, revealed Horatio's death. Ped. My lord, he could not, 'twas so lately done. And since he hath not left my company. Lore. Admit he ha not. His condition such. As fear or flattering words may make him false. I know his humor, and therewith repent. That ere I veest him in this enterprise. But, Pedringano, to prevent the worst. And 'cause I know thee secret as my soul. Here, for thy further satisfaction, take thou this. Juse him more gold. And hearken to me. Thus it is do eased. This night thou must, and prithee so resolve. Meet Cerberine at St. Louis' Park. Thou knowest 'tis here hard by behind the house. There take thy stand, and see thou strike him sure. For die he must, if we do mean to Leoa. Ped. But how shall Cerberine be there, my lord? Lore. Let me alone, I'll send him to meet the prince and me where thou must do this deed. Ped. It shall be done, my lord, it shall be done. And I'll go arm myself to meet him there. Lore. When things shall alter, as I hope they will. Then shalt thou mount for this, thou knowest my mind. Exit Pd, Ringano. Che Luyerin. Enter Page. Page. My lord. Lore. Go, Sirrah. To Cerberine, and bid him forthwith meet. The prince and me at S. Louis' Park. Behind the house, this evening, boy. Page. I go, my lord. Lore. But, sirrah, let the hour be 8 o'clock. Bid him not fail. Page. I fly, my lord. Exit. Lore. Now to confirm the complot thou hast cast. Of all these practices, I'll spread the watch. Upon precise commandment from the king. Strongly to guard the place where Pedringano. This night shall murder hapless Cerberine. Thus must we work that will alway distrust. Thus must we practice to prevent mishap. And thus one ill another must expulse. This sly inquiry of Hieronimo. For Bel-Imperia, breeds suspicion. And, thus, suspicion bodes a further ill. As for myself, I know my secret fault. And so do they, but I ha dealt for them. They that for coin their souls endangered. To saw my life, for coin shall venture theirs. And better 'tis that base companions die. Than by their life to hazard our good haps. Nor shall they loa for me to fear their faith. I'll trust myself shall be my friend. For die they shall. Slaws are ordian, e.d. to no other end. Exit. Act 3. Scene 3. San Luigi's Park. Enter Pedringano with a pistole. Ped. Now, Pedringano, bid thy pistole hold. And hold on, fortune. Once more for me. Jove but success to mine attempting spirit. And let me shift for taking of mine aim. Here is the gold. This is the gold proposed. It is no dream that I adventure for. But Pedringano is posseous thereof. And he that would not strain his conscience. For him that thus his liberal purse hath stretched. Unworthy such a fall or may he fail. And, wishing, want when such as I prule. As for the fear of apprehension. I know, if need should be, my noble lord. Will stand between me and ensuing harms. Besides, this place is free from all suspect. Here therefore will I stay and take my stand. Enter the watch. I watch. I wonder much to what intent it is. That we are thus expressly charged to watch. To watch. This by commandment in the king's own name. 3 watch. But we were noyer wont to watch and ward. So near the duke his brother's house before. 2 watch. Content yourself, stand close, there's somewhat. Int. Enter Cerberine. Ser. Aside, here, Cerberine, attend and stay thy pace. For here did Don Lorenzo's page appoint. That thou by his command shouldst meet with him. How fit a place, if one were so disposed. Methinks this corner is to close with one. Ped. Aside, here comes the bird that I must seize upon. Now, Pedringano, or Noyer play the man. Ser. Aside, I wonder that his lordship stays so long. Or wherefore should he send for me so late? Ped. For this, Cerberine, and thou shalt haughty. Shoots the dag. So, there he lies. My promise is performed. The watch. I watch. Hark, gentlemen, this is a pistol shot. 2 watch. And here's one slain, stay the murderer. Ped. Now, by the sorrows of the souls in hell. He strives with the watch. Who first lay his hands on me, I'll be his priest. 3 watch. Sirrah, confess, and therein play the priest. Why hast thou thus unkindly killed the man? Ped. Why, because he walked abroad so late. 3 watch. Come sir, you had been a better kept your bed. Then ha committed this misdeed so late. 2 watch. Come to the marshals with the murderer. I watch. On to Hieronimo's. Help me here. To bring the murdered body with verses 2. Ped. Hieronimo. Carry me before whom you will. Whate'er he be, I'll answer him and you. And do your worst, for I defy you all. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 4. The Duke's Castle. Enter Lorenzo and Balthazar. Ball. How now, my lord? What makes you rise so soon? Lore. Fear of preempting our mishaps too late. Ball. What mischief is it that we not mistrust? Lore. Our greatest ILS we least mistrust, my lord. And, unexpected, harms do hurt versus most. Ball. Why, tell me, Don Lorenz, tell me, man. If aught concerns our honor and your own. Lore. Nor you nor me, my lord, but both in one. But I suspect, and the presumption's great, that by those base confederates in our fault, touching the death of Don Horatio, we are all betrayed to old Hieronimo. Betrayed, Lorenzo. Tush. It cannot be. Lore. A guilty conscience verged with the thought of former yules, easily cannot err. I am persuaded, and dissuade me not, that als re-yuled to Hieronimo. And therefore know that I ha cast it thus. Enter page. But here's the page. How now? What news with thee? Page. My lord, Cerberine is slain. Ball. Who? Cerberine, my man. Page. Your hind's man, my lord. Lore. Speak, page, who murdered him? Page. He that is apprehended for the fact. Lore. Who? Page. Pedringano. Ball. Is Cerberine slain, that lewd his lord so well? Inurious villain. Murderer of his friend. Lore. Hath Pedringano murdered Cerberine? My lord, let me entreat you to take the pains to exasperate and hasten his revenge. With your complaints to my lord, the king. This their dissension breeds a greater doubt. Ball. Assure thee, Don Lorenzo, he shall die. Or else his hinds hardly shall deny. Meanwhile, I'll haste the martial sessions. For die he shall for this damned deed. Exit Balthazar. Lore. Aside, why, so? This fits our former policy. And thus experience bids the wise and deal. I lay the plot, he prosecutes the point. I set the trap, he breaks the worthless twigs. And sees not that wherewith the bird was Linda. Thus hopeful men, that means to hold their own, must look, like fowlers, to their dearest friends. He runs to kill whom I ha hope to catch. And no man knows it was my reaching, fetch. 'Tis hard to trust to a multitude. Or any one, in mine opinion. When men themselves their secrets will reveal. Enter a messenger with a letter. Lore. Boy. Page. My lord. Lore. What's he? Mes. I ha a letter to your lordship. Lore. From whence? Mes. From Pedringano's that's imprisoned. Lore. So he is in prison then? Mes. Ay, my good lord. Lore. What would he with verses? Reads the letter. He writes verses here. To stand good lord, and help him in disters. Tell him I ha his letters, know his mind. And what we may, let him assure him of. Fellow, be gone, my boy shall follow thee. Exit mes, Sanger. Aside, this works like wax. Yet once more try thy wits. Boy, go convey this purse to Pedringano. Thou knowest the prison, closely jew at him. And be aduest that none hear thereabout. Bid him be merry still, but secret. And, though the martial sessions be today, bid him not doubt of his delury. Tell him his pardon is already signed. And thereon bid him boldly be resolute. For, were he ready to be turned off, as 'tis my will of termost be tried, thou with his pardon shalt attend him still. Shew him this box, tell him his pardon's in't. But open not, and if thou losest thy life, but let him wisely keep his hopes known. He shall not want while Don Lorenzo lose. Away, page! I go, my lord, I run. Lore. But, sirrah, see that this be cleanly done. Exit page. Now stands our fortune on a tickle point. And now or never ends Lorenzo's doubts. One only thing is n'effected yet. And that's to see the executioner. But to what end? I list not trust the air with veterans of our pretence therein, for fear the priui whispering of the wind connuate our words amongst unfriendly ears that lie too open to adjuvantages. Id quel che voglio io, nessun lois a. Intendo io quel, che, mi batterà. Exit. Act 3. Scene 5. A street. Enter boy with the box. Boy. My master hath forbidden me to look in this box, and, by my troth, 'tis likely, if he had not warned me, I should not ha had so much idle time, for we, men kind, in our minority are like women in their uncertainty. That they are most forbidden, they will soonest attempt, so I now. By my bare honesty, here's nothing but the bare empty box. Were it not sin against secrecy, I would say it were a piece of gentlemanlike knowry. I must go to Pedringano and tell him his pardon is in this box. Nay, I would ha sworn it, had I not seen the contrary. I cannot choose but smile to think how the villain will flout the gallows, scorn the audience, and descant on the hangman. And all presuming of his pardon from hence. Wilt not be an odiist? For me to stand and grace Uriist he makes, pointing my finer at this box, as who, should, say, mock on, here's thy warrant. Is't not a scurruiist that a man should iist himself to death? Alas, poor Pedringano! I am in a sort sorry for thee, but, if I should be hanged with thee, I could not weep. Exit. Act 3. Scene 6. The Court of Justice. Enter Hieronimo and the deputy. Hiero. Thus must we toil in others men's extremes, that know not how to remedy our own. And do them iustes, when niestly we for all our wrongs can compasse no redress. But shall I noyer lioa to see the day, that I may come by iustis to the hoens, to know the cause that may my cares allay? This toiless my body, this consumeth age, that only I to all men iust must be, and neither gods nor men be iust to me. Dep, worthy Hieronimo, your office asks a care to punish such as do transgress. Hiero. So ist my duety to regard his death, who when he lewd deserted my dearest blood. But come, for that we came for, let's begin. For here lies that which bids me to be gone. Enter officers, boy, and Pedringano with a letter in his hand, bound. DPU. Bring forth the prisoner for the court is set. Ped. Gramercy, boy. But it was time to come. For I had written to my lord anew a nearer matter that concerneth him, for fear his lordship had forgotten me. But, sith he hath remembered me so well. Come, come, come on. When shall we to this gear? Hiero. Stand forth, thou monster, murderer of men. And here, for satisfaction of the world, confess thy folly and repent thy fault. For there's thy place of execution. Ped. This is short work. Well, to your marshalship. First I confess, nor fear I death therefore. I am the man, 'twas I slew Sir Barine. But, sir, then you think this shall be the place where we shall satisfy you for this gear. DPU. I, Pedragano. Ped. No, I think not so. Hiero. Peace, impudent. For thou shalt find it so. For blood with blood shall, while I sit as judge, be satisfied, and the law discharged. And, though myself cannot receive the like, yet will I see that others ha their right. Dispatch. The fault a proud and confiest. And by our law he is condemned to die. Hang. Come on, sir. Are you ready? Ped. To do what, my fine officious null? Hang. To go to this gear. Ped. Oh, sir, you are to forward, thou wouldst fain furnish me with a halter, to disfurnish me of my habit. So should I go out of this gear, my raiment, into that gear, the rope. But, hangman, now I spy your nowery, I'll not change without boot, that's flat. Hang. Come, sir. Ped. So then I must VP. Hang. No remedy. Ped. Yes, but there shall be for my coming down. Hang. Indeed here's a remedy for that. Ped. How? Be turned off. Hang. Aye, truly. Come, are you ready? I pray, you, sir, dispatch, the day goes away. Ped. What, do you hang by the hour? If you do, I may chance to break your old custom. Hang. Faith, you ha, no, reason, for I am like to break your young neck. Ped. Dost thou mock me, hangman? Pray God I be not presured to break your nospate for this. Hang. Alas, sir, you are a foot too low to reach it, and I hope you will ne'er grow so high while I am in office. Ped. Sirrah, dost see yonder boy with the box in his hand? Hang. What, he that points to it with his finger? Ped. I, that companion. Hang. I know him not, but what of him? Ped. Dost thou think to Leoa till his old doublet will make thee a new truss? Hang. Ay, and many a fair year after, to truss VP many an honester man than either thou or he. Ped. What hath he in his box, as thou thinkst? Hang. Faith, I cannot tell, nor I care not greatly. Methinks you should rather hearken to your soul's health. Ped. Why, sirrah hangman, I take it that is good for the body is likewise good for the soul, and it may be in that box is balm for both. Hang. Wel, thou art ewen the merriest piece of man's flesh that e'er grond at my office door. Ped. Is your roguery become an office, with a nose? Name. Hang. Ay, and that shall all they witness that see you seal it with a thieu's name. Ped. I prithee, request this good company to pray, for me. Hang. Ay, marry, sir, this is a good motion. My maesters. You see here's a good fellow. Ped. Nay, nay, now I remember me, let them alone till some other time, for now I ha no great need. Hiero. I ha not seen a wretch so impudent. O monstrous times where murders are so light, and where the soul that should be shrinned in hoen so lie delights in interdicted things, still wandering in the thorny passages that intercepts itself of happiness. Murder. O bloudy monster! God forbid a fault so foolish should scape unpunished. Dispatch and see this execution done. This makes me to remember thee, my son. Exit Hieronimo. Head. Nay, soft. No hast. DPU. Why, wherefore stay you? Haw you hope of life? Head. Why, I. Hang. As how? Head. Why, rascal, by my pardon from the king. Hang. Stand you on that? Then you shall off with this. He turns him off. DPU. So, executioner, convey him hence. But let his body be buried. Let not the earth be chalked or infect. What that which Hoans contemns and men neglect. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 7. Hieronimo's house. Enter Hieronimo. Here. Where shall I run to breath abroad my woes? My woes whose weight hath wearied the earth. Or mine exclaims that haw surcharged the air. With Cecil's plaints for my deceased son. The blustering winds, conspiring with my words. At my lament haw moved to lowless trees. Disrobed the meadows of their florid green. Made mountains marsh with springtides of my tears. And broken through the brazen gates of hell. Yet still tormented is my tortured soul. With broken sighs and restless passions. That, winged, mount, and hovering in the air. Beat at the windows of the brightest Hoans. Soliciting for Iestis and revenge. But they are plaqued in those imperial heights. Where, countermurred with walls of diamond. I find the place impregnable, and they. Resist my woes and jew my words no way. Enter hangman with a letter. Hang. O Lord, sir. God bless you, sir. The man, sir. Petergade, sir, he that was so full of merry conceits. Here. W.L., what of him? Hang. O Lord, sir. He went the wrong way, the fellow. Had a fair commission to the contrary. Sir, here is his. Purport, I pray you, sir. We haw done him wrong. Hiero. I warrant thee, jew it me. Hang. You will stand between the gallows and me. Hiero. I. Hang. I thank your Lord, worship. Exit hangman. Hiero. And yet, though somewhat nearer me concerns. I will, to ease the grief that I sustain. Take truce with sorrow while I read on this. Reads, my lord, I writ, as mine extremes require. That you would labor my delivery. If you neglect, my life is desperate. And in my death I shall reveal the troth. You know, my lord, I slew him for your sake. And was confederate with the prince and you. Won by rewards and hopeful promises. I hope to murder Don Horatio too. Hope he to murder mine Horatio. And actors in accursed tragedy. Wast thou, Lorenzo? Balthazar and thou? Of whom my son deserted so well? What haw I heard? What haw mine eyes beheld? O sacred Hoans, may it come to pass, that such a monstrous and detested deed, so closely smoot heard and so long concealed, shall thus by this be revenged or reoled. Now see I, what I durst not then suspect. That Bel-Imperia's letter was not feigned. Nor feigned she, though foully they ho wronged. Both her, myself, Horatio and Themselus. Now may I make compare twixt hers and this. Of Uri accident. I ne'er could find. Till now, and now I feelingly perceive. They did what Hoan ven punished, should, not low. O false Lorenzo! Are these thy flattering looks? Is this honor that thou didst my son? And, Balthazar, bane to thy soul and me. What this the ransom he reserved, for thee? Woe to the cause of these constrained wars. Woe to thy basines and captivity. Woe to thy birth, thy body and thy soul. Thy cursed father, and thy conquered self. And banned with bitter execrations be the day and place where he did pity thee. But wherefore waste I mind in fruitful words, when naught but blood will satisfy my woes? I will go plain me to my lord the king, and cry aloud for Iestus through the court, wearing the flints with these my withered feet, and either purchase Iestus by entreats, or tire them all with my renewing threats. Exit. Act 3. Scene 8. Hieronimo's house. Enter Isabel and her maid. Isa. So that you say this harb will purge the eyes, and this the head? Ah! But none of them will purge the heart. No, there's no medicine left for my disease, nor any physic to recure the dead. She runs lunatic. Horatio. Oh, where's Horatio? Maid. Good madam, affright not thus yourself with outrage for your son Horatio. He sleeps in quiet in the Elysian fields. Isa. Why did I not give you gowns and goodly things? Bought you a whistle and a whipstock too, to be revenged on their villainies? Maid. Madam, these humours do torment my soul. Isa. My soul. Poor soul, thou talks of things thou knowest not what. My soul hath silver wings, that mounts me even to the highest Hoans. To Hoan. Aye, there sits up Horatio, backed with troop of fiery cherubins, dancing about his newly healed wounds, singing sweet hymns and chanting heavenly notes, rare harmony to greet his innocence. That died, aye, died a mirror in our days. But say, where shall I find the men, the murderers, that slew Horatio? Whither shall I run to find them out, that murdered my son? Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 9. The Duke's Castle. Bel-Imperia at a window. Bell. What means this outrage that is offered me? What am I thus sequestered from the court? No notice? Shall I not know the cause of these my secret and suspicious ILS? Accursed brother! Then kind murderer! Why bends thou thus thy min to martyr me? Hieronimo, why rid I of thy wrongs? Or why art thou so slack in thy revenge? Andrea! O Andrea, that thou sawest me for thy friend Horatio handled thus, and him for me thus causeless murdered. Well, force perforce, I must constrain myself to patience, and apply me to the time, till Hoan, as I ha hoped, shall set me free. Enter, Christoffel. Chris. Come, Madam Bel-Imperia, this must not be. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 10. A room in the Duke's castle. Enter Lorenzo, Balthazar and the page. Lore. Boy, talk no further, thus far things go well. Thou art assured that thou sawest him dead. Page. Or else, my lord, I lioa not. Lore. That's enough. As for this resolution at his end, lo that to him with whom he sojourns now. Here, take my ring, and jew it, Christoffel. And bid him let my sister be enlarged, and bring her hither straight. Exit page. This that I did was for a policy, to smooth and keep the murder secret, which as a 9 days' wonder being o'erblown, my gentle sister will I now enlarge. Ball. And time, Lorenzo. For my lord the Duke. You heard, inquired for her yesternight. Lore. Why? And, my lord, I hope you have heard me say sufficient reason why she kept away. But that's all one. My lord, you lure her. Ball, I. Lore. Then in your lure beware. Deal cunningly. Salue all suspicitions, only sooth me VP. And, if she hap to stand on terms with versus. As for her sweetheart, and concealment so. Iest with her gently, vendor feigned iest. Are things concealed that else would breed rest. But here she comes. Enter Bel-Imperia. Lore. Now, sister. Bel. Sister. No. Thou art no brother, but an enemy. Else wouldst thou not ha vist thy sister so. First, to affright me with thy weapons drawn. And with extremes abuse my company. And then to hurry me like whirlwind's rage. Amidst a crew of thy confederates. And clap my VP where none might come at me. Nor I at any to rewheel my wrongs. What madding fury did possess thy wits? Or wherein is that I offended thee? Lore. Adoes you better, Bel-Imperia. For I ha done you no disparagement. Unless, by more discretion than deserud. I sought to saw your honor and mine own. Bel. Mine honor? Why, Lorenzo, wherein is't? That I neglect my reputation so. As you, or any, need to rescue it. Lore. His hinds and my father were resolute. To come conferre with old Hieronimo. Concerning certain matters of estate. That by the viceroy was determined. Bel. And wherein was mine honor touched in that? Bel, ha patience, Bel-Imperia. Hear the rest. Lore. Me, next in sight, as messenger they sent. To do him notice that they were so nigh. Now, when I came, consorted with the prince. And expected in an arbor there. Found Bel-Imperia with Horatio. Bel. How then? Lore. Why, then, remembering that old disgrace. Which you for Don Andrea had endured. And now were likely longer to sustain. By being found so menially accompanied. Thought rather, for I knew no readier mean. To thrust Horatio forth my father's way. Ball. And carry you obscurely somewhere else. Least that his hinds should ha found you there. Bel. You and so, my lord. And you are witness. That this is true which he entreateth of. You, gentle brother, forged this for my sake. And you, my lord, were made his instrument. A work of worth. Worthy the noting too. But what's the cause that you concealed me since? Lore. Your melancholy, sister, since the news. Of your first forright Don Andrea's death. My father's old wrath hath exasperate. Ball. And better wast for you, being in disgrace. To absent yourself and jew his fury place. Bel. But why I had no notice of his ire. Lore. That were to add a more fuel to your fire. Who burnt like Eden for Andreas' loss. Bel. Hath not my father then inquired for me? Lore. Sister, he hath. And this excust I thee. He whispereth in her ear. But, Bel-Imperia, see the gentle prince. Look on thy lure. Behold young Balthazar. Whose passions by the presence are increased. And in whose melancholy thou mayest see. Thy hate, his lure, thy flight, his following thee. Bel. Brother, you are become an orator. I know not, by what experience. Too politic for me, past all compare. Since I last saw you. But content yourself. The prince is meditating higher things. Ball. 'Tis of thy beauty, then, that conquers kings. Of those thy tresses, Ariadne's twines. Wherewith my liberty thou hast suppressed. Of that thine eyrie front, my sorrow's map. Wherein I see no howen to rest my hope. Bel. To luen fear, and both at once, my lord. In my conceit, are things of more import. Then women's wit are to be busied with. Bel, 'tis that I loe thee. Bel. hum. Bel-Imperia. Bel. But that I fear. Hum. Bel-Imperia. Lore. Fear yourself. Bel. I, brother. Lore. How? Bel. As those that, when they are loath and fear to loose. Ball. Then, fair, let Balthazar your keeper be. Bel. No, Balthazar doth fear as well as we. Iti tremulo metui poetum iunxir timorem. Iti vanum stolidi perditionis opus. Exit. Lore. Nay, and you argue things so cunningly. We'll go continue this discourse at court. Ball. Led by the lodestar of humanly looks. Whence poor oppressed Balthazar? As o'er the mountains walks the wanderer. Uncertain to effect his pilgrimage. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 11. A street. Enter two Portuguese, and Hieronimo. Meets them. I port. By your low, sir. The following is inserted in the 1618, 1623, and 1633 editions. Here. 'Tis neither as you think, nor as you think. Nor as you think, you are wide all. These slippers are not mine, they were my son Horatio's. My son. And what's a son? A thing begot. Within a pair of minutes, thereabout. A lump bred up in darkness, and doth sorrow. To balance those light creatures we call women. And at 9 minutes end creeps forth to light. What is there yet in a son to make a father? Dote, rave or run mad? Being born, it pouts. Cries, and breeds teeth. What is there yet in a son? He must be fed, be taught to go and speak. Aye, and yet? Why might not a man love a calf as well, or melt in passion over a frisking kid, as for a son? Methinks a young bacon or a fine smooth little horse-colt should move a man as much as doth a son. For one of these in very little time will grow to some good use, whereas a son, the more he grows in stature and in years, the more unscored, unlevelled he appears. Reckons his parents among the ranka of fools. Strikes cares upon their heads with his mad riots. Makes them look old before they meet with age. This is a son. And what a loss were this, considered truly. Oh, but my Horatio grew out of reach of those insatiate humors. He loved his loving parents, he was my comfort. And his mother's joy, the very arm that did hold up our house, our hopes were stored up in him. None but a damned murderer could hate him. He had not seen the back of 19 year, when his strong arm unhorsed the proud Prince Balthazar. And his great mind, too full of honor, took him unto mercy. That valiant but ignoble Portugal. Well, heaven is heaven still. And there's nemesis, and furies. And things called whips, and they sometimes do meet with murderers. They do not always scape. That is some comfort. Aye, and then time steals on, and steals, till violence leaps forth like thunder wrapped in a ball of fire. And so doth bring confusion to them all. End of insertion. Good lo haw you, nay, I pray you go. For I'll low you, if you can low me so. To port. Pray you, which is the next way to my Ord. The Duke's. Hiero. The next way from me. I port. To the house, we mean. Hiero. Oh, hard by. 'Tis yon house that you see. To port. You could not tell versus if his son were there. Hiero. Who? My Lord Lorenzo. I port. Aye, sir. He goeth in at one door and comes out at another. Hiero. Oh, forbear. For other talka for verses far fitter were. But, if you be importunate to know the way to him and where to find him out, then list to me, and I'll resolve your doubt. There is a path upon your left-hand side that leadeth from a guilty conscience into a forest of distrust and fear, a dark some place and dangerous to pass. There shall you meet with melancholy thoughts, whose baleful humours if you but behold, it will conduct you to despair and death, whose rocky cliffs when you haw once beheld, within a hugy dale of lasting night, that, kindled with worlds of iniquities, doth cast vp filthy and detested fumes. Not far from thence where murderers haw built a habitation for their cursed souls. There, in a brazen cauldron fixed by Iove, in his fell wrath upon a sulphur flame, your Selous shall find Lorenzo bathing him in boiling lead and blood of innocence. I port. Ha, ha, ha. Hiero. Ha, ha, ha. Why, ha, ha, ha. Farewell, good ha. Ha, ha. Exit. To port. Doubtless this man is passing lunatic, or imperfection of his age doth make him dote. Come, let's away to seek my lord the Duke. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 12. The Spanish Court. Enter Hieronimo with a poniard in one hand, and a rope in the other. Hiero. Now, sir, perhaps I come to see the king. The king sees me, and fain would hear my suit. Why, is this not a strange and seld-seen thing, that standers by with toys should strike me mute? Go to, I see their shifts, and say no more. Hieronimo, 'tis time for thee to trudge. Down by the dale that flows with purple gore, standeth a fiery tower. There sits a judge upon a seat of steel and molten brass, and twixt his teeth he holds a firebrand that leads into the lake where he doth stand. Away, Hieronimo, to him be gone. He'll do thee Iestus for Horatio's death. Turn down this path, thou shalt be with him straight. Or this, and then thou needst not take thy breath. This way, or that way. Soft and fair, not so. For, if I hang or kill myself, let's know. Who will revenge Horatio's murder then? No, no. Fie, no. Pardon me, I'll none of that. He flings away the dagger and halter. This way I'll take, and this way comes the king. He takes them up again. And here I'll haw a fling at him, that's flat. And, Balthazar, I'll be with thee to bring. And thee, Lorenzo. Here's the king, nay, stay. And here, there goes the hair away. Enter king, ambassador, Castile, and Lorenzo. King. Now shew, ambassador, what our viceroy saith. Hath he received the articles we sent? Hiero. Iestus. Oh, Iestus to Hieronimo. Lore. Back. Sayest thou not the king is bussy? Hiero. Oh. Is he so? King. Who is he that interrupts our bucines? Hiero. Not I. Aside, Hieronimo, beware. Go by, go. By. Embas. Renowned king, he hath received and read thy kingly proffers and thy promised league. And, as a man extremely ouirioid, to hear his son so princely entertained, whose death he had so solemnly bewailed. This, for thy further satisfaction. And kingly lo, he kindly lets thee know. First, for the marriage of his princely son with Bel-Imperia, thy beloved niece. The news are more delightful to his soul Then myrrh or incense to the offended Hoans. In person, therefore, will become himself. To see the marriage rites solemnized. And in the presence of the court of Spain. To knit a sure, inextricable, band. Of kingly law and everlasting league. Betwixt the crowns of Spain and Portugal. There will he jew his crown to Balthazar. And make a queen of Bel-Imperia. King. Brother, how like you this our viceroy's law? Cast. No doubt, my lord, it is an argument. Of honorable care to keep his friend. And wondrous zeal to Balthazar, his son. Nor am I least indebted to his grace. That bends his liking to my daughter thus. Now last, dread lord, here hath his hind sent. Although he send not that his son return. His ransom doe to Don Horatio. Horatio. Who calories Horatio? King. And well remembered, thank his majesty. Here, see it joined to Horatio. Iestis. O Iestis. Iestis, gentle king. King. Who is that? Hieronimo. Iestis. O Iestis. O my son. My son. My son, whom naught can ransom or redeem. Lore. Hieronimo, you are not well adduced. Away, Lorenzo. Hinder me no more. For thou hast made me bankrupt of my bliss. Jew me my son. You shall not ransom him. Away. I'll rip the bowels of the earth. He diggeth with his dagger. And ferry Ouerth Elysian plains. And bring my son to shew his deadly wounds. Stand from about me. I'll make a pickaxe of my poniard. And here surrender VP my marshalship. For I'll go marshal VP the fiends in hell. To be owned on you all for this. King. What means this outrage? Will none of you restrain his fury? Nay, soft and fair, you shall not need to stry you. Needs must he go that the diuels dry you. Exit. King. What accident hath happed to Hieronimo? I ha not seen him to demean him so. Lore. My gracious lord, he is with extreme pride. Conceived of young Horatio, his son. And coitus of howing himself. The ransom of the young prince, Balthazar. Distract, and in a manner lunatic. King. Below me, nephew, we are sorry for t. This is the law that fathers bear their sons. But, gentle brother, go jew to him this gold. The prince's ransom, let him ha his due. For what he hath, Horatio shall not want. Happily Hieronimo hath need thereof. Lore. But if he be thus helplessly distract, 'tis requisite his office be resigned. And joined to one of more discretion. King. We shall increase his melancholy so. 'Tis best that we see further in it first. Till when, ourself will exempt the place. And, brother, now bring in the ambassador. That he may be a witness of the match. Twixt Balthazar and Bel-Imperia. And that we may prefix a certain time. Wherein the marriage shall be solemnized. That we may ha thy lord the viceroy here. Therein your hinds highly shall content. His majesty, that longs to hear from hence. King. On then, and hear you, Lord Ambassador. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 13. Hieronimo's house. Enter Hieronimo with a book in his hand. Vindicta mihi. I, Hoan will be reavenged of Uri ill. Nor will they suffer murder repaid. Then stay, Hieronimo, attend their will. For mortal men may not appoint their time. Per sila semper tutum est celeribus iter. Strike, and strike home, where wrong is off-read thee. For you'ls to ils conductors be. And death's the worst of result ion. For he that thinks with patience to contend. To quiet life, his life shall easily end. Fatus I miseros uent, have salutum. Fatus I vitam negant, have sepulchrum. If destiny thy miseries do ease, then hast thou health, and happy shalt thou be. If destiny deny thee life, Hieronimo, yet shalt thou be assured of a tomb. If neither, yet let this thy comfort be. Hoen cureth him that hath no burial. And, to conclude, I will revenge his death. But how? Not as the vulgar wits of men. With open, but ineutable ils. As by a secret, yet a certain mean. Which vendor kinship will be cloaked best. Wise men will take their opportunity. Closely and safely fitting things to time. But in extremes adjuvantage hath no time. And therefore all times fit not for revenge. Thus, therefore, will I rest me in unrest. Dissembling quiet in conquietance. Not seeming that I know their villainies. That my simplicity may make them think. That ignorantly I will let all slip. For ignorance, I wot, and well they know. Remedium malorum iners est. Nor ought avails it me to menace them. Who, as a wintry storm upon a plain, will bear me down with their nobility. No, no, Hieronimo, thou must enioine thine eyes to observation, and thy tongue to milder speeches than thy spirit affords. Thy heart to patience, and thy hands to rest. Thy cap to courtesy, and thy knee to bow. Till to revenge thou know when. Where and how? How now? What noise, what coil is that you keep? A noise within. Enter a servant. Sir. Here are a sort of poor petitioners. That are importunate, and it shall please you, sir, that you should plead their cases to the king. Hiero. That I should plead their all actions. Why, let them enter, and let me see them. Enter 3 citizens and an old man. Don Basolto. ICIT. So I tell you this, for learning and for law. There is not any advocate in Spain that can prule or will take half the pain. That he will in pursuit of equity. Hiero. Come near, you men, that thus importune me. Aside, now must I bear a face of gravity. For thus I veest, before my marshalship, to plead the causes as corregidor dot. Come on, sirs, what's the matter? 2 Cit. Sir, an action. Hiero. Of battery? ICIT, mine of debt. Hiero. Ju place. 2 Cit. No, sir, mine is an action of the case. 3 Cit, mine an iectione firme by Elise. Hiero. Content you, sirs, are you determined that I should plead your all actions? ICIT. I, sir, and here's my declaration. 2 Cit. And here is my band. 3 Cit. And here is my lease. They drew him papers. Hiero. But wherefore stands you silly man so mute? With mournful eyes and hands to Hoen preared? Come hither, father, let me know thy cause. Senex, Don Basolto. O worthy sir, my cause but slightly known. May mow the hearts of warlike myrmidons, and melt the Corsic rocks with ruthful tears. Hiero. Say, father, tell me what's thy soot. Basolto. No, sir, could my woes Jew wave to my most distressful words. Then should I not in paper, as you see, with ink bewray what blood began in me. Hiero. What's here? The humble supplication of Don Basolto for his murdered son. Basolto. I, sir. Hiero. No, sir, it was my murdered son. Oh, my son, my son. Oh, my son Horatio. But mine or thine, Basulto, be content. Here, take my handkercher and wipe thine eyes. Whiles wretched I in thy mishaps may see the Louisly portrait of my dying self. He draweth out a blouty napkin. Oh, no, not this. Horatio, this was thine. And when I dyed it in thy dearest blood, this was a token twixt thy soul and me, that of thy death revenged I should be. But here, take this, and this. What? My purse? Aye, this and that and all of them are thine. For all as one are our extreme ties. ICIT. Oh, see the kindines of Hieronimo. 2 CIT. This gentleman shews him a gentleman. Hiero. See thy shame, Hieronimo. See here a looing father to his son. Behold the sorrows and the sad laments that he delureth for his son's dices. If Lou's affects so strius in lesser things. If Lou enforce such moods in meaner wits. If Lou expressed such power in poor estates. Hieronimo, as when a raging sea, tossed with the wind and tide, o'erturneth then the per billows course of vows to keep, whilst lesser waters labour in the deep. Then shamest thou not, Hieronimo, to neglect the swift revenge of thy Horatio? Though on this earth Iestus will not be found, I'll down to hell and in this passion knock at the dismal gates of Pluto's court, getting by force, as once Alcides did, a troop of furies and tormenting hags, to torture Don Lorenzo and the rest. Yet, least the triple-headed porter should deny my passage to the slimy strand. The Thracian poet thou shalt counterfeit. Come on, old father, be my Orpheus. And, if thou canst no notes upon the harp, then sound the burden of thy sore heart's grief, till we do gain that Proserpine may grunt revenge on them that read my son. Then will I rent and tear them thus and thus, shewering their limbs in pieces with my teeth. Tear the papers. ICIT. Oh, sir, my declaration. Exit Hieronimo and they after. 2 CIT saw my bond. Enter Hieronimo. 2 CIT. Saw my bond. 3 CIT alas my lease, it cost me £10, and you, my lord, ha torn of the same. Hiero. That cannot be, I gae it noyer a wound. Shew me one drop of blood fall from the same. How is it possible I should slay it then? Tush, no. Run after, catch me if you can. Exeunt all but the old man, Don. Basulto. Basulto remains till Hieronimo enters. Again, who, staring him the face, speaks. And art thou come, Horatio, from the depth, to ask for Iestus in this poor earth? Tell thy father thou art ruined, to wring more tears from Isabella's eyes, whose lights are dimmed with year-long laments. Go back, my son, complain to Ecus. For here's no Iestus. Gentle boy, begone. For Iestus is exiled from the earth. Hieronimo will bear thee company. Thy mother cries on righteous Radamant. For Iest revenge against the murderers. Basulto. Alas, my lord, whence springs this troubled speech? Hiero. But let me look on my Horatio. Sweet boy, how art thou chonged in death's black shade? Had Proserpine no pity on thy youth, but suffered thy fair crimson-colored spring with withered winter to be blasted thus? Horatio, thou art older than thy father. Ah, ruthless father, that fall thus transform us. B.A. Ah, my good lord, I am not your young son. Hi. What? Not my son. Thou then a fury art. sent from the empty kingdom of black night, to summon me to make appearance before grim Minos and Iest Radamant, to plague Hieronimo, that is remiss, and seeks not vengeance for Horatio's death. B.A. I am a good man, and not a ghost. That came for Iestus for my murdered son. Hi. Now I know thee, now thou namest thy son. Thou art the Luili image of my grief. Within thy face sorrows I may see. The eyes are dimmed with tears, they cheeks are wan. They forehead troubled, and thy muttering lips murmur sad words abruptly broken off. By force of wind sighs thy spirit breathes. And all this sorrow riseth for thy son. And selfsame sorrow feel I for my son. Come in, old man, thou shalt to Isabel. Lean on my arm, I thee, thou me shalt stay. And thou and I and she will sing a song. 3 parts in one, but all of discords frammed. Talk not of chords, but let verses now be gone. For with a chord Horatio was slain. Exeunt. Act 3. Scene 14. The Spanish Court. Enter King of Spain, the Duke, Viceroy, and Lorenzo, Balthazar, Don Pedro, and Bel-Imperia. King. Go, brother, it is the Duke of Castile's cause. Salute the Viceroy in our name. Castile. I go. Vice. Go forth, Don Pedro, for they nephew's sake. And greet the Duke of Castile. Pedro. It shall be so. King. And now to meet these Portuguese. For, as we now are, so sometimes were these kings and commanders of the Western Indies. Welcome, brow Viceroy, to the court of Spain. And welcome, all his honorable train. 'Tis not known to verses for why you come, or how so kingly crossed the seas. Sufficeth it, in this we note the troth. And more than commonly you lend to verses. So is it that mine honorable niece, for it beseems verses now that it be known, already is betrothed to Balthazar. And, by appointment and are condescent. Tomorrow are they to be married. To this intent we entertain thyself, thy followers, their pleasure, and our peace. Speak, men of Portugal, shall it be so? If I, say so, if not, say so flatly. Vice. Renowned king, I come not, as thou think'st, with doubtful followers, resolute men, but such as have pawned thine articles, confirmed thy motion and contented me. No, sovereign, I come to solemnize the marriage of thy beloved niece, fair Bel-Imperia, with my Balthazar. With thee, my son, whom sith I Leoa to see. Here, take my crown, I jew it to her and thee. And let me Leoa a solitary life, in ceaseless prayers, to think how strangely Hohen hath thee preserved. King. See, brother, see, how nature strives in him. Come, worthy Viceroy, and accompany. They friend, to strive, with thine extremities. A place more private fits this princely mood. Vice. Or here or where your hinds thinks it good. Exeunt all but cast, tile, and lor, enzo. Cass. Nay, stay, Lorenzo, let me talk with you. Sayest thou this entertainment of these kings? Lore. I do, my lord, and I owe to see the same. Cass. And knowest thou why this meeting is? Lore. For her, my lord, whom Balthazar doth love, and to confirm their promised marriage. Cass. She is thy sister. Lore. Who? Bel-Imperia. I, my gracious lord, and this is the day that I ha longed so happily to see. Cass. Thou wouldst be loath that any fault of thine should intercept her in her hapines. Lore. Hoens will not let Lorenzo erra so much. Cass. Why then, Lorenzo, listen to my words. It is suspected, and reported too, that thou, Lorenzo, wrongst Hieronimo. And in his suits toward his majesty, still keepst him back and seeks to cross his suit. Lore. That I, my lord. Cass. I tell thee, son, myself ha heard it said. When to my sorrow I ha been ashamed to answer for thee, though thou art my son. Lorenzo, knowest thou not the common law and kindines that Hieronimo hath won by his deserts within the court of Spain? Or sayest thou not the king, my brother's care in his behalf and to procure his health? Lorenzo, shouldst thou thwart his passions, and he exclaim against thee to the king, what honor wert in this assembly? Or what a scandale were among the kings, to hear Hieronimo exclaim on thee? Tell me, and look thou tell me truly too, whence grows the ground of this report in court? Lore. My lord, it lies not in Lorenzo's power to stop the vulgar liberal of their tongues. A small adjuvantage makes a water breach, and no man lose that long contenteth all. Cass. Myself ha seen thee bussy to keep back him and his supplications from the king. Lore. Yourself, my lord, hath seen his assassins, that ill beseemed the presence of a king. And, for I pitied him in his distress, I held him thence with kind and courteous words, as free from malice to Hieronimo as to my soul, my lord. Cass. Hieronimo, my son, mistakes thee then. Lore. My gracious father, below me, so he doth. But what's a silly man, distract and mind, to think upon the murder of his son? Alas, how easy is it for him to err! But, for his satisfaction and the world's, 'twere good, my lord, that Hieronimo and I were reconciled, if he misconstrue me. Cass. Lorenzo, that hast said, it shall be so. Go, one of you, and call Hieronimo, Etner Balthazar and Bel-Imperia. Ball. Come, Bel-Imperia, Balthazar's content, my sorrow's ease, and sovereign of my bliss. Sith Hohen hath, thee ordained dead, to be mine. Disperse those clouds and melancholy looks, and clear them vp with those thy sun-bright eyes, wherein my hope and Hohen's fair bowtie lies. Bell. My looks, my lord, are fitting for my low, which, new begun, can shew no brighter yet. Ball. New kindled flames should burn as morning sun. Bell. But not too fast, lest heat and all be done. I see my lord my father. Ball. True, my lord. I will go salute him. Cass. Welcome, Balthazar. Welcome, brow prince, the pledge of Castile's peace. And welcome Bel-Imperia. How now, girl? Why comest thou sadly to salute versus thus? Content thyself, for I am satisfied. It is not now as when Andrea lude. We ha forgotten and forgotten that. And thou art graced with a happier lo. But, Balthazar, here comes Hieronimo. I'll ha a word with him. Enter Hieronimo and a servant. Hiero. And where's the duke? Sir. Yonder. Hiero. You and so. Aside, what new dus ha they dused, tro? Pocas palabras. Mild as the lamb. Ist I will be reunged. No, I am not the man. Cass. Welcome, Hieronimo. Lore. Welcome, Hieronimo. Bl. Welcome, Hieronimo. Hiero. My lords, I thank you for Horatio. Cass. Hieronimo, the reason that I sent to speak with you is this. Hiero. What? So short? Then I'll be gone, I thank you for't. Cass. Nay, stay, Hieronimo, go call him, son. Lore. Hieronimo, my father craves a word with you. Hiero. With me, sir. Why, my Lord, I thought you had done. Lore. Aside, no, what he had. Cass. Hieronimo, I hear. You find yourself agreed at my son. Because you ha not access to the king. And say 'tis he that intercepts your suits. Hiero. Why, is not this a miserable thing, my lord? Cass. Hieronimo, I hope you ha no cause. And would be loath that one of your deserts should once ha reason to suspect my son. Considering how I think of you myself. Hiero. Your son Lorenzo. My noble lord. The hope of Spain. Mine honorable friend. Grant me the combat of them, if they dare. Draws out his sword. I'll meet them face to face to tell me so. These be the scandalous reports of such as lose not me, and hate my lord too much. Should I suspect Lorenzo would pruent, or cross my soot, that lewd my son so well? My lord, I am ashamed it should be said. Lore. Hieronimo, I noyer gay you cause. Hro. My good lord, I know you did not. Cass. There then pause. And, for the satisfaction of the world. Hieronimo, frequent my homely house. The Duke of Castile Cyprian's ancient seat. And when thou wilt, vse me, my son, and it. But here before Prince Balthazar and me. Embrace each other, and be perfect friends. Hiero. I, marry, my lord, and shall. Friends, quoth he. See, I'll be friends with you all. Especially with you, my Louisly lord. For yours causes it is fit for verses. That we be friends. The world is suspicious. And men may think what we imagine not. Ball. Why this is freely done, Hieronimo. Lore. And I hope old grudges are forgot. Hiero. What else? It were a shame it should not be so. Cass. Come on, Hieronimo, at my request. Let verses entreat your company today. Exeunt. Chorus. Enter Ghost and Rung. Ghost. Awake Erichtho. Cerberus, awake. Solicite Pluto, gentle Proserpine. To combat, Achinon and Ericus in hell. For near by Styx and Phlegethon, there came. Nor ferried Charon to the fiery lakes. Such fearful sights, as poor Andrea C.S. Revenge awake. Revenge. Awake. For why? Ghost. Awake, revenge. For thou art ill doest. To sleep away what thou art worn to watch. Revenge. Content thyself, and do not trouble me. Ghost. Awake, revenge, if Lu, as Lu hath had. Ha yet the power of prudence in hell. Hieronimo with Lorenzo is Ioinde in league. And intercepts our passage to revenge. Awake, revenge, or we are woebegone. Revenge. Thus worldings ground what they ha dreamed upon. Content thyself, Andrea. Though I sleep, yet is my mood soliciting their souls. Sufficeth thee that poor Hieronimo cannot forget his son Horatio. Nor dies Reun although he sleep a while. For in quiet, quietance is feigned. And slumbering is a common worldly wile. Behold, Andrea, for an instance how revenge hath slept, and then imagine thou what 'tis to be subject to destiny. Enter a dumb show. Ghost. Awake, revenge. Reveal this mystery. Revenge. The two first, do, the nuptial torches bear, as brightly burning as the midday's sun. But after them doth Hymen hie as fast, clothed in sable and saffron robe, and blows them out and quencheth them with blood, as discontent that things continue so. Ghost, sufficeth me thy meanings understood, and thanks to thee and those infernal powers that will not tolerate a lour's woe. Rest thee, for I will sit to see the rest. Revenge. Then argue not, for thou hast thy request. Exeunt. Act 4. Scene 1. The Duke's Castle. Enter Bel-Imperia and Hieronimo. Bel-Imperia. Is this the law that bear'st, Horatio? Is this the kindness that thou counterfeits? Are these the fruits of thine incessant tears? Hieronimo, are these thy passions, thy protestations and thy deep laments, that thou wert wont to weary men withal? O then kind father! O deceitful world! With what excuses canst thou shew thyself? With what dishonour, and the hate of men? Thus to neglect the loss and life of him, whom both my letters and thine own belief assures thee to be causeless slaughtered. Hieronimo. For shame, Hieronimo. Be not a history to after times of such ingratitude to thy son. Then happy mothers of such children then, but monstrous fathers, to forget so soon the death of those whom they with care and cost ha tendred so, thus Carel should be lost. Myself, a stranger in respect to thee, so lewd his life as still I wish their deaths. Nor shall his death be ruined by me, although I bear it out for fashion's sake. For here I swear in sight of Hohen and earth, shouldst thou neglect the law thou shouldst retain, and Dieu ouer and does no more, myself should send their hateful souls to hell, that wrought his downfall with extremest death. Hi. But may it be that Bel-Imperia vows such revenge as she hath deigned to say. Why then, I see that Hohen applies our drift, and all the saints do sit soliciting for vengeance on those cursed murderers. Madam, 'tis true, and now I find it so. I found a letter, written in your name, and in that letter, how Horatio died. Pardon, oh pardon, Bel-Imperia, my fear and care in not believing it. Nor think I thoughtless think pon a mean to let his death be ruinged at full. And here I vow, so you but do consent, and will conceal my resolution, I will ere long determine of their deaths, that causeless thus ha murdered my son. Bel. Hieronimo, I will consent, conceal, and aught that may affect for thine avail. I own with thee to revenge Horatio's death. Here. On then, and, whatsoe'er I does, let me entreat you grace my practice. For why the plots already in mine head? Here they are. Enter Balthazar and Lorenzo. Ball. How now, Hieronimo? What, courting Bel-Imperia? Hiero. I, my lord. Such courting as, I promise you. She hath my heart, but you, my lord, ha hers. Lore. But now, Hieronimo, or Neuer we are to entreat your help. Hi. My help. Why, my good lords, assure yourselves of me. For you ha joined me cause, I, by my faith, ha you. Ball. It pleased you at the entertainment of the ambassador to grace the king so much as with a shoe. Now were your stewide so well furnished, as, for the passing of the first night's sport, to entertain my father with the like, or any such like pleasing motion. Assure yourself it would content them well. Hiero. Is this all? Ball. Aye, this is all. Hiero. While then I'll fit you, say no more. When I was young I gae my mind, And plied myself to fruitless poetry. Which, though it profit the professor not, yet is it passing pleasing to the world. Lore. And how for that? Hiero. Marie, my good lord, thus dot. And yet, methinks, you are too quick with verses. When in Toledo there I studied, it was my chance to write a tragedy. See here, my lords. He shows them a book, which, long forgot, I found this other day. Nor would your lordships forward me so much, as but to grace me with your acting it. I mean each one of you to play a part. Assure you it will pro most passing strange, and wondrous plausible to that assembly. Ball. What, would you ha versus play a tragedy? Hiero. Why, Nero thought it no disparagement. And kings and emperors ha ta'en delight to make experience of their wit in plays. Lore. Nay, be not angry, good Hieronimo. The prince but asked a question. Ball. In faith, Hieronimo, and you be in earnest. I'll make one. Lore. And I another. Hiero. Now, my good lord, could you entreat your sister, Bel-Imperia, to make one? For what's a play without a woman in it? Bell. Little entreaty shall sorrow me, Hieronimo. For I must needs be employed in your play. Hiero. Why, this is well. I tell you, lordings. It was determined to ha been acted by gentlemen and sholers too, such as could tell what to speak. Ball. And now it shall be played by princes and courtiers, such as can tell how to speak. If, as it is our country manner, you will but let verses know the argument. Hiero. That shall I roundly. The Chronicles of Spain record this written of a knight of Rhodes. He was betrothed, and wedded at the length to one Procida, an Italian dame, whose beachery ravished all that her beheld, especially the soul of Solomon, who at the marriage was the chiefest guest. By sundry means sought Solomon to win Procida's love, and could not gain the same. Then gone he brake his passions to a friend, one of his bashaws whom he held full dear. Her has this bashaw long solicited, and saw she was not otherwise to be won, but by her husband's death, this knight of Rhodes, whom presently by treachery his slew. She, stirred with an exceeding hate therefore, as cause of this, slew Sultan Solomon, and, to escape the bashaw's tyranny, did stab herself. And this is the tragedy. Lore. Oh, excellent. Bell. But say, Hieronimo, what then became of him that was the bashaw? Hiero. Marie thus, moved with remorse of his misdeeds, ran to a mountain top and hung himself. Ball. But which of verses is to perform that part? Hiero. Oh, that will I, my lords. Make no doubt of it. I'll play the murderer, I warrant you. For I already ha conceded that. Ball. And what shall I? Hiero. Great Solomon, the Turkish emperor. Lore. And I? Hiero. Erastus, the knight of Rhodes. Bell. And I? Hiero. Procida, chaste and resolute. And here, my lords, are sural abstracts drawn, for each of you to note your sural parties, and acted as occasions off read you. You must provide, you with a Turkish cap, a black mustache and a fauchion. Juz paper to Bel-Balthazar. You with a cross, like a knight of Rhodes. Juz another to Lorenzo. And, madam, you must, then, attire yourself. He joeth Bel-Imperia, another. Like Phoebe, Flora, or the huntress, Jen. Which to your discretion shall see me best. And as for me, my lords, I'll look to one. And with the ransom that the viceroy sent, so furnish and perform this tragedy. As all the world shall say Hieronimo was liberal in gracing of it so. Ball. Hieronimo, methinks a comedy were better. Hiero. A comedy? Fie. Comedies are fit for common wits. But to present a kingly troop withal. Do me a stately written tragedy. Tragedia cothernata, fitting kings. Containing matter, and not common things. My lords, all this, our sport, must be performed. As fitting, for the first night's ruelling. The Italian tragedians were so sharp of wit that in 1 hour's meditation they would perform anything in action. Lore. And well it may, for I ha seen the like. In Paris, mongst the French tragedians. Hiero. In Paris? Mas, and well remembered. There's one thing more that rests for verses to do. Bl, what's that, Hieronimo? Forget not anything. Hiero. Each one of verses must act his part in known languages, that it may breed the more variety. As you, my lord, in Latin, I in Greek. You in Italian, and, for because I know that Bel-Imperia hath practiced the French. In courtly French shall all her phrases be. Bell. You mean to try my cunning then, Hieronimo? Ball. But this will be a mere confusion. And hardly shall we all be understood. Hiero. It must be so, for the conclusion shall pro the innuention and all was good. And I myself in an oration that I will haw there behind a curtain, and with a strange and wondrous shew besides, assure yourself, shall make the matter known. And all shall be concluded in one scene. For there's no pleasure ta'en in tediousness. Bl, to Lor. How like you this? Lore. Why thus, my lord, we must resolute to soothe his humours vp. Ball. On then, Hieronimo, farewell till soon. Hiero. You ply this gear? Lore. I warrant you. Exeunt all but Hieronimo. Hiero. Why, so? Now shall I see the fall of Babylon, wrought by the Hoans in this confusion. And, if the world like not this tragedy, hard is the hap of old Hieronimo. Exit. Act 4. Scene 2. Hieronimo's garden. Enter Isabella with a weapon. Isa. Tell me no more. O monstrous homicides! Since neither piety nor piety moves the king to Iestis or compassion, I will revenge myself upon this place, where thus they murdered my beloved son. She cuts down the arbor. Down with these branches and these loathsome boughs. On this unfortunate and fat all pine. Down with them, Isabella, rent them vp. And burns the roots from whence the rest is sprung. I will low not a root, a stalk, a tree, a bough, a branch, a blossom, nor a leaf. Not a harb within this garden plot. Accursed complot of my misery. Fruitless for ewer may this garden be. Barren the earth, and blissless whosoever imagines not to keep it manured. An eastern wind commixed with noisome aries shall blast the plants and young saplings, here. The earth with serpents shall be pestered. And passengers, for fear to be infect, shall stand aloof, and, looking at it, tell. There murdered died the son of Isabel. Ay, here he died, and here I him embrace. See where his ghost solicits with his wounds. Revenge on her that should revenge his death. Hieronimo, make haste to see thy son. For sorrow and despair hath sighted me. To hear Horatio plead with Rhadamant. Make haste, Hieronimo, to hold excused thy negligence in pursuit of their deaths. whose hateful wrath broke him of his breath. Ah, nay, thou dost delay their deaths. Forges the murderers of thy noble son. And none but I bestir me, to no end. And, as I curse this tree from further fruit, so shall my womb be cursed for his sake. And with this weapon will I wound this breast, that hapless breast that gay Horatio suck. She stabs herself. Act 4. Scene 3. The Duke's Castle. Enter Hieronimo, he knocks up the curtain. Enter the Duke of Castile. Cass. How now, Hieronimo? Where's your fellows? That you take all this pain? Hiero. Oh sir, it is for the author's credit, to look that all things may go well. But, good my lord, let me entreat your grace, to jo the king the cop pie of the play. This is the argument of what we shew. Cass. I will, Hieronimo. Hiero. One more thing, my good lord. Cass. What's that? Hiero. Let me entreat your grace, that, when the train are passed into the gallery, you would vouchsafe to throw me down the key. Cass. I will, Hieronimo. Exit cas, tile. Hiero. What, are you ready, Balthazar? Bring a chair and a cushion for the king. Enter Balthazar with a chair. Well done, Balthazar, hang VP the title. Our scene is Rhodes. What, is your beard on? Bal, half on, the other is in my hand. Hiero. Dispatch, for shame. Are you so long? Exit Balthazar. Bethink thyself, Hieronimo. Recall thy wits, recompt thy former wrongs. Thou hast received by murder of thy son. And lastly, but, not least, how Isabel, once his mother and, my, dearest wife, all woebegone for him, hath slain herself. Behows thee then, Hieronimo, to be reewinged. The plot is laid of dire revenge. On then, Hieronimo, pursue revenge. For nothing wants but acting of revenge. Exit Hieronimo. Enter Spanish king, viceroy, the Duke of Castile, and their train, to the gallery. King. Now, viceroy, shall we see the tragedy of Solomon, the Turkish emperor, performed by pleasure by your son the prince, my nephew Don Lorenzo, and my niece. Vice. Who? Bel-Imperia. King. I. And Hieronimo our marshal, at whose request they deign to do themselves. These be our pastimes in the court of Spain. Here, brother, you shall be the bookkeeper. This is the argument of that they shew. He jeweth him a book. Gentlemen, this play of Hieronimo in sundry languages was thought good to be set down in English more largely, for the easier of understanding to every public reader. Enter Balthazar, Bel-Imperia, and Hieronimo. Balthazar. Acting, Bashaw, that Rhodes is ours, yield Hoans the honor. And holy Mahomet, our sacred prophet. And be thou gracked with every excellence that Solomon can do or thou desire. But thy desert in conquering Rhodes is less than in resurrecting this fair Christian nymph. Persida, blissful lamp of excellence, whose eyes compel, like powerful adamant, the warlike heart of Solomon to wait. King. See, viceroy, that is Balthazar your son. That represents the Emperor Solomon. How well he acts his amorous passion. Vice. I, Bel-Imperia hath taught him that. Castile, that's because his mind runs on Bel-Imperia. Hiero. Acting, what your ioe earth yields betide your majesty. Balt. Acting, earth yields no ioe without Persides lo. Hiero. Acting, let then pure Zeta on your grace attend. Balt. Acting, she shall not wait on me, but I on her. Drawn by the influence of her lights, I yield. But let my friend, the Rhodian knight, come forth. Erasto, dearer than my life to me. That he may see Procida, my beloved. Enter Erasto, Lorenzo. King. Here comes Lorenzo, look upon the plot. And tell me, brother, what part plays he? Bell. Acting, ah, my Erasto. Welcome to Procida. Lo. Acting, thrice happy is Erasto that thou luest. Rhodes' loss is nothing to Erasto's Ioe. Sith his Procida lose, his life sururios. Balt. Acting, ah, Bashaw, here is lo between Erasto and fair Procida, sovereign of my soul. Hiero. Acting, Remu Erasto, mighty Solomon. And then Procida will be quickly won. Balt. Acting, Erasto is my friend, and, while he lose, Procida Neuer will remo her lo. Hiero. Acting, let not Erasto Lioa to gree you great Solomon. Balt. Acting, dear is Erasto in our princely eye. Hiero. Acting, but, if he be your Reuel, let him die. Balt. Acting, why, let him die. So look commandeth me. Yet I grieve I that Erasto should so die. Hiero. Acting, Erasto, Solomon saluteth thee. And lets thee wit by me his hind's will. Which is, thou shouldst be thus employed. Stab him. Bell. Acting, I, me, Erasto. See, Solomon, Erasto's slain. Balt. Acting, yet loeth Solomon to comfort thee. Fair queen of Botai, let not fall or die. Both with gracious I belled his grief. That with Procedes Botai is increased. If by Procida grief be not released. Bell. Acting, tyrant, desist soliciting vain suits. Relentless are mine ears to thy laments. As thy butcher is pitiless and base. Which seized on my Erasto, harmless knight. Yet by thy power thou thinkest to command. And to thy power Procida doth obey. But, were she able, thus she would revenge thy treacheries on thee, ignoble prince. Stab him. And on herself she would be thus revenged. Stab herself. King. Well said, old marshal. This was browly done. Hiero. But Bel-Imperia ploys Procida well. Vice. Were this in earnest, Bel-Imperia, you would be better to my son than so. King. But now what follows for Hieronimo? Hiero. Marie, this follows for Hieronimo. Here break we off our sundry languages. And thus conclude I in our vulgar tongue. Haply you think, but boodles are your thoughts, that this is fabulously counterfeit. And that we do as all tragedians do. To die today. For fashioning our scene. The death of Ajax, or some Romaine peer. And, in a minute starting VP again. Rewe you to please tomorrow's audience. No, princes, no I am Hieronimo. The hopeless father of a hapless son. Whose tongue is ton to tell his latest tale. Not to excuse gross errors in the play. I see your looks verge instance of these words. Behold the reason verging me to this. Shows his dead son. See here my shoe, look on this spectacle. Here lay my hope, and here my hope hath end. Here lay my heart, and here my heart was slain. Here lay my treasure, here my treasure lost. Here lay my bliss, and here my bliss bereft. But hope, heart, treasure, Ioe in bliss. All fled, failed, died, yeah, all decade with this. From froth these wounds came breath that gave me life. They murdered me that made these fat all marks. The cause was lo whence grew this mortal hate. The hate, Lorenzo and young Balthazar. The lo, my son to Bel-Imperia. But night, the coorer of accursed crimes, with pitchy silence hushed these traitors' harms, and lent them low, for they had sordid leisure to take advantage in my garden plot. Upon my son, my dear Horatio, their merciless they butchered VP my boy. In black, dark night, to pale, dim, cruel death, he shrieks, I heard, and yet, methinks, I hear his dismal outcry echo in the air. With soonest speed I hasted to the noise, where, hanging on a tree, I found my son, through girt with wounds and slaughtered, as you see. And could I, think you, at this spectacle, speak, Portuguese, whose loss resembles mine? If thou canst weep upon thy Balthazar, 'tis like I wailed for my Horatio. And you, my Lord, whose reconciled son marched in a net and thought himself unseen, and rated me for a brain-sick lunacy. With God amend that mad Hieronimo. How can you brook our play's catastrophe? And here behold this blouty handkercher, which at Horatio's death weeping dipped within the reure of his bleeding wounds. It as propitious, see, I Horeserud. And neuer hath it left my bloody heart, soliciting remembrance of my vow. With these, oh these accursed murderers, which now performed, my heart is satisfied. And to this end the bashaw I became, that might revenge me on Lorenzo's life, who therefore was appointed to the part, and was to represent the Knight of Rhodes, that I might kill him more conveniently. So, Viceroy, was this Balthazar thy son? That Solomon which Bel-Imperia, in person of Procida murdered. So, lie appointed to that tragic part, that she might slay him that offended her. Poor Bel-Imperia missed her part in this. For, though the story saith she should ha' died, yet I, of kindines and care for her, did otherwise determine of her end. But lieu of him whom they did hate too much, did verge her resolution to be such. And princes, now behold Hieronimo, author and actor in this tragedy, bearing his latest fortune in his fist, and will as resolute conclude his part as any of the actors gone before. And, gentles, thus I end my play. Verge no more words, I ha no more to say. He runs to hang himself. King. Oh hearken, Viceroy, hold Hieronimo. Brother, my nephew and they son are slain. Vice. We are betrayed. My Balthazar is slain. Break ope the doors, run saw Hieronimo. Hieronimo, do but inform the king of these eunuchs. Upon mine honor, thou shalt ha no harm. Hiero. Viceroy, I will not trust thee with my life, which I this day ha offered to my son. Accursed wretch, why stayest thou him that was resolved to die? King. Speak, traitor. Damned, blouty murderer, speak. For, now I ha thee, I will make thee speak. Why hast thou done this mdesuring deed? Vice. Why hast thou murdered my Balthazar? Cass. Why hast thou butchered both my children thus? Hiero. O good words. As dear to me was Horatio, as yours, or yours, my Lord, to you. My Giddle's son was by Lorenzo slain. And by Lorenzo and that Balthazar am I at last revenged thoroughly. Upon whole souls may hoens be yet onged, with far greater far than these afflictions. Cass. But who were thy confederates in this? Vice. That was thy daughter Bel-Imperia. For by her hand my Balthazar was slain. I saw her stab him. King. Why speakest thou not? Hiero. What lesser liberty can kings afford than harmless silence? That afforded me sufficeth I may not nor I will not tell thee. King. Fetch forth the tortures. Traitor as thou art, I'll make thee tell. Hiero. Indeed? Thou mightest torment me as his wretched son hath done in murdering my Horatio. But nor shalt thou force me to reveal the thing which I ha vowed inviolate. And therefore, in despite of all thy threats, pleased with their deaths, and eased with their revenge, first take my tongue, and afterwards my heart. He bites out his tongue. King. O monstrous resolution of a wretch! See, Viceroy, he hath bitten forth his tongue, rather than reveal what we required. Cass. Yet can he write. King. And if in this he satisfy verses not, we will do's the extremest kind of death. That ewer was innuented for a wretch. Then he makes signas for a knife to mend his pen. Cass. Oh, he would ha a knife to mend his pen. Vice. Here, and adoes thee that thou write the troth. Look to my brother. Saw Hieronimo. He with a knife stabs the duke and himself. King. What age hath ewer heard such monstrous deeds? My brother and the whole succeeding hope that Spain expected after my decease. Go bear his body hence, that we may mourn the loss of our beloved brother's death, that he may be entombed, whate'er befall. I am the next, the nearest, last of all. Vice. And thou, Don Pedro, do the like for verses. Take VP our hapless son timely slain. Set me VP with him, and he with woeful me. Upon the mainmast of a ship venmond. And let the wind and tide, hail, me along. To Scylla's barking and contained gulf. Or to the loathsome pool of Archaron. To weep my want for my sweet Balthazar. Spain hath no refuge for a Portugal. The trumpets sound a dead march, the King of Spain mourning after his brother's body, and the King of Portugal bearing the body of his son. Chorus. Enter Ghost and Renge. Ghost. I. Now my hopes ha end in their effects. When blood and sorrow finish my desires. Horatio murdered in his father's bower. Vilda Cerberine by Pedragano slain. False Pedragano hanged by quaint Dus. Fair Isabella by herself misdone. Prince Balthazar by Bel-Imperia stabbed. The Duke of Castile and his wicked son. Both done to death by old Hieronimo. My Bel-Imperia fallen as Dido fell. And good Hieronimo slain by himself. Aye, these were spectacles to please my soul. Now will I beg at loyally Proserpine, that, by the virtue of her princely doom, I may consort my friends in pleasing sort. And on my foes work highest and sharp revenge. I'll lead my friend Horatio through those fielda, where noyer dying wars are still inurned. I'll lead fair Isabella to that train, where Pitti weeps but noyer feeleth pain. I'll lead my Bel-Imperia to those Iois, that vestal virgins and fair queens possess. I'll lead Hieronimo where Orpheus plays, adding sweet pleasure to eternal days. But say, revenge, for thou must help or none. Against the rest how shall my hate be shown? Revenge. This hand shall hale them down to deepest hell, where none but furies, bugs and tortures dwell. Ghost. Then, sweet revenge, do this at my request. Let me judge and doom them to rest. Let loose poor Tydeus from the vulture's gripe. And let Don Cyprian supply his room. Place Don Lorenzo on Ixion's wheel. And let the lower's endless pain surcease. Forget old wrath and grunt him ease. Hang Balthazar about Chimera's neck. And let him there bewail his bloody low, repining at our Iois that are abo. Let Cerberine go rule the fat all stone. And take from Sisyphus his endless moan. False Pedringano, for his treachery. Let him be dragged through boiling Acheron. And their Leoa dying still in endless flames. Blaspheming gods and all their holy names. Revenge. Then haste we down to meet thy friends and foes. To place thy friends in ease, the rest in woes. For here though death doth end their misery, I'll there begin their endless tragedy. Exeunt. Finis.